Chapter 221. Perhaps this is our chance. He didn't need to waste too much time to visit Senior Black Tiger. Since he was certain that Liang Shaming was up to some mischief, Yang Chen also didn't hide his strength and immediately took out the flying shuttle and quickly rushed to Beast Taming Sect. Alice Master had already discussed this matter with the higher-ups of Beast Taming Sect, so meeting with Senior Black Tiger quickly wasn't a problem. After delivering the heart-questioning pill he had prepared for Senior Black Tiger, Yang Chen quickly steered the flying shuttle towards Pyongyang Palace. Everyone present on the scene was aware of the flying shuttle's existence. Although Wang Yong had seen it for the first time, when they went to save Gao Yu, he had realized that Yang Chen had a high-speed magic tool. So he wasn't the slightest bit astonished upon seeing the flying shuttle. Within less than 20 days, Yang Chen had returned to Pyongyang Palace. Master Meng Xian had been keeping watch over Pyongyang Palace. When the old tree demon had valiantly led the palace master to rapidly return to Pyongyang Palace, Liang Shaming had been waiting with a bunch of followers for the good news. But when he suddenly saw the bloody figure of the palace master appear before him, he was rooted to the ground because of fear. Without waiting for him to resist, the old tree demon quickly tried to capture him. A trifling Jidan stage cultivator didn't have any means to resist in front of the old tree demon's clone. When he saw that the turn of events was far from encouraging, Liang Shaming counterattacked, which gave everyone a huge fright. Several tens of 10th water godly thunder pearls directly appeared. The old tree demon swiftly struck him, causing Liang Shaming to lose conscience, but it was already too late to stop the 10th water godly thunder pearls explosion. Having no other alternative, the old tree demon used his body to receive all the 10th water godly thunder pearls and rushed towards the sky. Clearly, these 10th water godly thunder pearls had been refined by daching experts. The explosion of several of these at the same time caused the clone's body to die, which then disappeared after a moment. Even if the old tree demon had tried to save the Pyongyang Palace, but still because of the continuous explosions in the sky, the mountain protecting spell formation flickered several times before disappearing. Almost all the buildings had collapsed due to the shockwaves. Several thousand foundation stage disciples had also been affected by the shockwaves and were severely injured. Even the Jidan stage disciples were also affected and suffered light wounds. All the people present on the scene turned pale with fright. These many 10th water yin thunder pearls certainly couldn't be refined by Liang Shaming alone. He didn't have that kind of ability. If it were not for the old tree demon, everyone present on the scene would have died and the Pyongyang Palace would have been turned into ruins. The daching expert had died horribly, the palace master had been severely injured, an elder had betrayed the sect, several thousand disciples had also been injured, and all the buildings in the sect including the main hall of the sect had also turned into dust. From the time it was established, it was the first time the Pyongyang Palace had suffered from such an extent of damage. Old Tree Demon's main body, which was on the flying shuttle, suddenly trembled and then his whole figure became depressed. Seeing this, everyone was greatly astonished. What had happened which caused this kind of transformation in the Old Tree Demon? Only after a moment of depression, the Old Tree Demon's complexion quickly returned to normal, however, anyone could see that his body was currently very weak. Soon, everyone heard about the attack on Pyongyang Palace from the Old Tree Demon. Hearing that the Pyongyang Palace had suffered such destruction, Yang Chen was furious and recklessly increased the flying shuttle to return quickly to Pyongyang Palace. Gao Yu was still there and it was unknown whether she had been affected or not and whether she had suffered any injuries. Unexpectedly, this time, when the Old Tree Demon had sacrificed his clone to save everyone. His contribution was unprecedentedly big. Even without waiting for the rewards that Palace Master would bestow on the Old Tree Demon, Yang Chen immediately took out a tree of Penglai divine wood and directly gave it to the Old Tree Demon after receiving him into the domed palace hall. The first wood spirit power of Penglai divine wood was countless times more pure compared to Old Tree Demon's main body, which was formed of cassia trees. Old Tree Demon hadn't expected that his one act to save lives would get him this kind of enormous returns. Under great excitement, he even forgot that he had lost his clone. He then split open his body and bundled the entire Penglai divine wood within it. The last heart-questioning pill will perfectly fuse the Penglai divine wood spirit power. Yang Chen said and quickly came out of the domed palace hall. Don't worry and concentrate on healing. You don't need to worry about other things. When Yang Chen and others returned to the Pyongyang Palace, the Pyongyang Palace was being crazily rebuilt. The matter of the main hall of the sect being destroyed was a matter of great humiliation for all the disciples. Every disciple was filled with anger and was concentrating on rebuilding the sect. Fortunately, Gao Yu only suffered from light wounds which didn't cause her much harm. When Yang Chen saw the palace master and other elders, everyone had a heavy expression on their faces mixed with a sense of guilt. Yang Chen immediately understood the reason. It hadn't been easy for the sect to gain a daching expert, but unexpectedly, they had lost their daching expert against the final struggle with this traitor Liang Shaming. Who would feel happy about this? Alice Master, Hallmaster Gi isn't dead. When Yang Chen said this, everyone raised their heads and looked at Yang Chen, not daring to believe, as if trying to distinguish whether his words were true or false. Everyone knew that if they could capture 100,000 mountains, then the Pure Yang Palace would gain the opportunity to advance rapidly. But at this critical moment, Lin Yunfeng's surprising revolt and loss of their only daching expert had made all the higher-ups of Pure Yang Palace feel despair. But Yang Chen's words instantly returned their confidence. Without caring for etiquettes in front of Palace Master, everyone immediately began to talk together, asking the reason. Now, Yang Chen also wasn't afraid of disclosing the matter of Gi Shanyu's clone. After hearing that Hallmaster Gi Shanyu had only lost a clone which he could restore after cultivating for some years, everyone instantly began to cheer for him, making the atmosphere quite lively. What happened to that bastard Liang Shoming? At this moment, Yang Chen also wasn't polite and directly mentioned him by name. I want to make him regret being born in this world. No one felt any sympathy for Liang Shoming, who had surprisingly prepared the savage 10th water godly thunder pearls and had also detonated it within the great mountain defending spell formation. If Gi Shanyu hadn't acted swiftly by collecting all the 10th water godly thunder pearls and flying high towards the sky, then maybe Pure Yang Palace would be exterminated today. Alice Master and that accompanying elder also felt a burst of lingering fear. If those people who had launched a sneak attack on them together with Lin Yunfeng had used the 10th water godly thunder pearls, then both of them would have been dead long ago. This excess fear caused their hatred towards the main culprit Liang Shaming to rise to the deepest levels. Yang Chen's attitude clearly implied that he wanted to punish Liang Shaming. Although all the people present on the scene had higher status than Yang Chen, no one stopped him. Even Palace Master felt regret that even after so many unexpected events at Luminous Moon Hall, he never had the resolve to deal with Liang Shaming. If he had, then the Pure Yang Palace wouldn't have to face the current destruction. He will be handed over to you. Alice Master said, gnashing his teeth in anger. Ask him clearly for me, what was he doing all these years? No one supported Liang Shaming, who had caused the destruction at Pure Yang Palace. When Liang Shaming was handed over to Yang Chen didn't ask him anything and first made him suffer all the tortures he had learned at the Heavenly Court without caring for his cries of forgiveness or anguished wails. While punishing him, Yang Chen even used many powerful elixirs to treat all sorts of injuries to make sure that he could suffer all the tortures without dying. I will make sure that you know what means by not being allowed to live and not being able to seek death. After Liang Shaming woke up, Yang Chen told him this and didn't talk with him anymore. In the beginning, Liang Shaming endured to the greatest extent, thinking that the upper echelons of Pure Yang Palace would certainly want to get some information from him and wouldn't let him die lightly. But after more than 10 days had passed, he didn't have this kind of extravagant hope anymore. Liang Shaming felt as if he had been thrown in hell and Yang Chen had turned into a fiend from hell, ignoring any reason, disregarding all causes and effects. He even didn't talk to him and was solely engrossed in carrying out his punishment. He only wanted Liang Shaming to suffer the torture without caring for obtaining any information from him. This kind of torture, which didn't differentiate between right and wrong, was so painful that could make people wish that they were dead. It made Liang Shaming clearly understand what was meant by not being allowed to live and not being able to seek death. Now, whenever Liang Shaming was sober enough to see Yang Chen's figure, his body would start trembling as if every cell in his body was afraid of Yang Chen and couldn't help but tremble in fear. Within less than half month, Liang Shaming had already collapsed. Every time he saw Yang Chen, he would start shouting. What do you want to know? Just ask me, okay? But please don't hurt me. Yang Chen sneered, regardless of however Liang Shaming begged for forgiveness, he continued with his torture. Thus, 10 more days passed like this, and Liang Shaming had completely collapsed many times and didn't have any intention of concealing anything. I am Greatest Heaven Sect's inner disciple. Before entering Pure Yang Palace, I had already entered Greatest Heaven Sect. Under my master's command, I secretly entered Pure Yang Palace to look for the opportunity to annex Pure Yang Palace. Hearing Liang Shaming's words, the complexion of all the higher-ups of Pure Yang Palace turned unsightly. A majestic hallmaster of the Pure Yang Palace, Luminous Moon Hall's hallmaster, was surprisingly a disciple of Greatest Heaven Sect who had entered the sect several hundred years ago to look for the chance to annex Pure Yang Palace. For several hundred years, everyone was surprisingly hoodwinked by Liang Shaming without any suspicion. Other than great embarrassment, everyone only felt great hatred. Greatest Heaven Sect was just being an intolerable bully. They didn't even hesitate to start killing the sect leader and destroying the entire sect to achieve their goal. Although Greatest Heaven Sect is considered a leader of Tao sects, their actions simply resembled that of a devil sect. Once Liang Shaming's secret identity became public, all doubts were explained. If Palace Master had died in that sneak attack, then most probably Lin Yunfeng would have become Palace Master. At that time, he would have certainly thrown his full support behind Liang Shaming, so long as Liang Shaming waited patiently for a few hundred years until Lin Yunfeng would ascend, being the person with the highest influence he would have been selected as the Palace Master. Once Liang Shaming became the Palace Master, then making the decision of merging with Greatest Heaven Sect would be completely up to him. The long-term arrangements of this plan made everyone tremble in fear. Those 10th Water Godly Thunder Pearls were also provided to him by the upper echelons of Greatest Heaven Sect through that concealed spell formation. If the situation doesn't look very encouraging, he was to ignite those 10th Water Godly Thunder Pearls and exterminate the entire Pure Yang Palace in order to shield Greatest Heaven Sect's plans so that it isn't denounced by others. Those several henchmen of Liang Shaming and Luminous Moon Hall, including the substitute Hallmaster Song Hang, had also been captured. Unexpectedly, they didn't offer any resistance and revealed everything they knew about this matter. All of them had been coaxed by Liang Shaming, so they didn't know the concrete details of the plan. After completing tasks assigned by Liang Shaming, they had obtained many benefits from Liang Shaming and the Greatest Heaven Sect separately. Because of which, they didn't have any hesitation in following Liang Shaming and chasing after Greatest Heaven Sect's shadow. No one supported these traitors, since they had betrayed the sect. Their punishment was clear: execution. They went too far. Wang Yong, who had a fiery temper, couldn't endure this and slapped the table in front of him in anger. I say, we should reveal this scoundrel's true colors to the entire world and see how this Greatest Heaven Sect deals with this. Everyone was also furious, but hearing Wang Yong's proposal, everyone silently contemplated over it. Although making this matter public would allow them to relieve their pent-up frustration, what would happen in the future? This was a big question. If the Greatest Heaven Sect could just casually push out an elder and say that it was all planned by him in secret and being guilty of terrible crimes, he would be executed as an apology to the entire world. After they provide this explanation, Pure Yang Palace would become Greatest Heaven Sect's mortal enemy and might have to face more secret reprisals from them. Honestly speaking, the current Pure Yang Palace could in no way contend against Greatest Heaven Sect and wasn't simply their opponent. Apparently, this matter has to be considered at great lengths. Yang Chen, what do you think? Palace Master didn't announce any decision, rather asked Yang Chen for his opinion. The higher-ups of sect, which included the group of elders and hallmasters, focused their gazes on Yang Chen's face. No one suggested that Yang Chen's participation in this kind of matter was not suitable. Similarly, no one felt that Yang Chen raising a suggestion in front of everyone was not appropriate, giving a very strange feeling. Disciple thinks this is a rather good chance. After mumbling to himself for a while, Yang Chen slowly said. Chance? What chance? Everyone was completely astonished, and Zhu Chentao, who had good relations with Yang Chen, couldn't help but speak up. Since the 10th Water Godly Thunder had already been detonated, in all likelihood, people of Greatest Heaven Sect think that Liang Shaming is already dead and we don't know about their plan. Yang Chen sorted out his reasoning and slowly said. Ordinary disciples didn't know that Liang Shaming had been captured by upper echelons of Pure Yang Palace. So far, the only people who knew that Liang Shaming was alive were all present here. No other people knew about it. Also, there isn't much possibility that those people who attacked Palace Master will come forward and speak up that they came from Greatest Heaven Sect. Yang Chen looked at the Liang Shaming, who was still mumbling to himself, and said with a smile. Our current strength is insufficient, so for the time being, we should feign ignorance about Greatest Heaven Sect's actions. Then how do we explain this kind of appearance of my sect? Zhu Chengxin immediately asked. Since our attack on 100,000 mountains is imminent, then we might as well use this attack as the grounds of justification. Yang Chen looked at everyone and said in a loud voice. Publicly announced that people of 100,000 mountains have attacked Pure Yang Palace, then even if our sect exterminates 100,000 mountains, no one will say anything about it. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 222 I will break the spell. Shifting the blame. This was clearly shifting the blame. In fact, without caring for the fact that Greatest Heaven Sect was being too arrogant, this reason mentioned by Yang Chen was far better than the previous reason of a disciple of Pure Yang Palace being attacked in 100,000 Mountain. It clearly seemed more honorable. Before this matter had happened, when the alliance formed by Pure Yang Palace, Green Jade Immortal Islands, Clear Sky Sect and Beast Taming Sect would exterminate the 100,000 Mountain, they would certainly gain the reputation of robbing others' territory illegally. Maybe someone would even come forward desiring to share the profit. After all, the previous line of reasoning wasn't sound enough, and this matter would certainly be discussed among the others. But the reason mentioned by Yang Chen made everyone speechless. trying to destroy the sect, breaking the mountain protecting spell formation. This kind of hatred wouldn't be quenched without proper revenge. So at that time, even if some people were resentful, they also wouldn't be able to stick their foot in this matter. By then, the market of 100,000 mountains would be perfectly under the control of Pure Yang Palace and its 3 allies. Shifting the blame on people of the 100,000 mountains wouldn't be that easy, right? Zhanxian spoke again while creasing his brows. How will we convince others of this? During the journey when Disciple was visiting Elder Hua of Clear Sky Sect, we were ambushed by the people of 100,000 mountains. Yang Chen immediately thought of using the few people he had caught earlier. One was a devil cultivator, one was a demon cultivator, and the last one was a rogue cultivator of Dao Path. All of them had lived there for many years, so we have enough evidence. This was a complete accident, even Yang Chen hadn't expected that the matter would develop to this stage, and could only say that it was a lucky coincidence. With these few people serving as the perfect evidence, it seems like the 100,000 mountains were doomed to be destroyed by Yang Chen. How can we forget about Greatest Heaven Sect? Wang Yang furiously said, but asking this question was also in vain. How could anyone forget the hatred of their sect being near wiped out? As soon as he said this, Wang Yang also felt that he was being somewhat stupid by asking this, so he immediately changed the question. That Greatest Heaven Sect already knows that we are going to attack 100,000 mountains, can they be watching our movements to try to get a piece of action? Right now, they are anxious that we have discovered their plan and are trying to think of countermeasures to respond to us. How can they try to exploit this opportunity? Yang Chen sneered. Previously, they had sheltered a traitor of our sect, when he was suddenly discovered later, they could only admit that they are guilty. They will not be willing to make this type of mistake again. Even if they come to exploit the opportunity and attack in place of us under the pretense of getting justice for us, but if we don't move they don't have any reason to attack. Yang Chen continued to analyze. If they could control the 100,000 mountain on their own, they would have attacked long ago. Why would they wait until now? Since they cannot control it alone, if we don't make our move and they do, they will be in an embarrassing situation. If they attack, they can't gain high ground, if they don't, that means they are orally supporting us and won't be able to make a move, they certainly won't let themselves get caught in this kind of difficult situation. If they really attack under the guise of getting justice for us, how can our sect watch without lifting a finger? Zhanxian asked again, he frequently interacted with a lot of people from other sects, so naturally he has to consider a lot of things. My sect is busy reconstructing the sect area, isn't this reason enough? Yang Chen lightly smiled. In any case, whether we attack early or late, our sect has sufficient reason to attack. The initiative lies with us and not with Greatest Heaven Sky. What if other sects ask why our sect has requested the help of Green Jade Immortal Islands and Clear Sky Sect and not of Greatest Heaven Sect? Zhanxian immediately followed. Greatest Heaven Sect has shielded my sect's traitor before, my Pure Yang Palace also doesn't hold much love for Greatest Heaven Sect, so why should we form alliance with Greatest Heaven Sect? Yang Chen seemed to have thought out everything and directly explained his reasoning. After some more questions and answers, everyone understood Yang Chen's line of reasoning. Seemingly, this was a great opportunity to capture 100,000 mountains. Even the Greatest Heaven Sect could only look helplessly as the few big sects form alliance and divide the profits of 100,000 mountains without finding even a trace of reason to step in. If they want to attack under the guise of getting justice for Pure Yang Palace could still refuse that option. If my Pure Yang Palace firmly refuses, then how could the Greatest Heaven Sect still have the face to step in and exploit the opportunity? If they really did attack, then Pure Yang Palace could just announce that Pure Yang Palace itself will avenge its hatred. As for forming an alliance with Green Jade Immortal Islands and Clear Sky Sect, it could always be explained saying that Pure Yang Palace couldn't beat them in their first attempt, so they could only form an alliance. In that case, Greatest Heaven Sect could do nothing but look at them enviously. So everything is set. After seeking the opinions of several hall masters and elders, palace masters slapped the table and finalized their strategy. No one should reveal any trace of information regarding Greatest Heaven Sect's matter, do not even show least bit of animosity towards Greatest Heaven Sect, wait until we gain enough strength to get revenge. Although they were still angry, everyone present could see the bigger picture. All of them pushed down their hatreds for the time being and began to wait for the chance to get revenge. After Liang Shaming and the rest of his henchmen had been captured, Yang Chen suddenly discovered that there weren't many voices opposing him within the Pure Yang Palace. All the higher-ups supported him, making him feel like fish back in water. The most important thing was that the greatest threat against Gao Yu, Liang Shaming, had already been dealt with, thus ensuring Gao Yu's safety within the sect in the future and removing the need for him to be on his guard all the time. This fact delighted Yang Chen. After determining their strategy, Yang Chen left everyone and directly went to Gao Yu's residence. Although Gao Yu had only suffered light injuries, she had still been injured, which distressed Yang Chen greatly. Ongsen Ling's cultivation wasn't high, the injuries she had received were quite serious. When Yang Chen had returned back to the sect earlier, she could barely crawl back to her place. Yang Chen was extremely considerate towards his talented senior apprentice sister and personally delivered the best healing elixirs and refined a batch of ginseng liquid of thousand-year ginseng for her. Only then did he feel relieved. The upper echelons of the sect made all the arrangements according to Yang Chen's intention. Soon the news of 100,000 Mountain attacking Puryang Palace began to spread quickly among all Dao sects, with a few dead corpses of people from 100,000 Mountain serving as evidence. The news of the sect area of Puryang Palace and several thousand disciples being injured began to spread. After a long time, entire cultivation world had again began to boil. The evidence revealed by Puryang Palace was like adding more oil to the fire, which immediately flared up the storm. Chaos spread within the cultivators, everyone was discussing this matter. Instantly, Puryang Palace stood at the heart of the struggle. Together with Puryang Palace, the secret organization behind the 100,000 Mountains had also become the center of talks. When a task gets divided between many people, it becomes easier. But so many people discussing the event, soon the whole chain of events starting from a disciple of Puryang Palace being attacked at 100,000 Mountains, followed by Yang Chen, destroying the auction house which made the secret organization to fly in rage because of humiliation, causing them to attack Puryang Palace. All the events became public quickly. Regardless of whatever was said, the auction house of 100,000 Mountains had broken their own rules, which wasn't a secret. They weren't able to remove the traces of their crimes over the past years by any means possible. This time, they had gone a step further and attacked Puryang Palace, thus becoming the target of criticism from countless people. Today, 100,000 Mountain had attacked Puryang Palace's mountain. Tomorrow, it might be some other sect. The people who were burned by 100,000 Mountain weren't only limited to Gao Yu, right now all of them people were expressing their anger towards common enemy and jointly denounced the secret organization behind 100,000 Mountains. What worried people most was that 2 Yuanying experts and 3 Jidan experts had used some unknown treasure to turn the entire Puryang Palace upside down. Even their mountain protecting defensive formation couldn't hold. If this had been some other sect in place of Puryang Palace, how could they escape extermination? There was also another opinion. Puryang Palace had finally become undisguised in front of everyone, since they couldn't even defend their own mountain and sect, how can they still have the face to establish their sect? But this kind of voice was clearly very few, no one cared about it. Puryang Palace had been enraged by this provocation, blood had entered their eyes. In front of countless sect disciples, Palace Master has pledged that 100,000 Mountain must be purged and sect's humiliation would be washed using enemies' blood. When Puryang Palace presented the evidence, simultaneously, it also combined with Clear Sky Sect, Green Jade Immortal Islands and Beast Taming Sect. The Grand Alliance marched to exterminate 100,000 Mountains. There weren't many people in the lead, only 50. But no one would dare to provoke these only 50 people in the whole world. These people included 9 Daching experts as well as 33 Yuanying experts and only 1 foundation stage disciple, Yang Chen. Yang Chen had come with them as a guide, naturally, everyone knew that this was just a guise. Yang Chen only wanted to personally get justice for Gao Yu. Gao Yu, Gongsun Ling, even Green Jade Immortal Island's Zhanxian and Clear Sky Sect Sun Kingsu all wanted to follow Yang Chen, but they were firmly declined by Yang Chen, while at the same time, they were also constrained by their sect, drawing unhappiness from these females. In fact, the stronghold occupied by the secret organization of 100,000 Mountains had been investigated in detail for several years. The reason why everyone agreed to allow Yang Chen to follow them was because he was the pill concocting master who had concocted the heart-questioning pill. The upper echelons of all sects were hoping that the experts of their sect could form some contact with Yang Chen and sow good karma, which would make it quite convenient for them to seek pills in future. Behind the 100,000 Mountains were 4 Daching experts and around 20 Yuanying experts. This kind of strength was enough to contend against the best sects. However, when all is said and done, they were formed by Tao, demon and devil paths working together, so everyone had only joined together for their mutual benefits and weren't interdependent on each other in life and death like a sect. This also meant that they could only occupy 100,000 Mountain, but couldn't contend against big sects like Greatest Heaven Sect or Clear Sky Sect. There was one more reason why the 100,000 Mountains had been standing tall without falling. They had a guardian magic weapon, which was the 7-star Heavenly Thunder spell, which covered their entire territory. Only the 4 Daching experts knew the profoundness of this spell formation, ordinary experts couldn't break this spell formation. Previously, Greatest Heaven Sect always had 5 Daching experts, making it the sect with most Daching experts among Dao sects. Their strength was quite formidable. But if they went on an expedition against 100,000 mountains, they would have to pay considerable price. When compared to the investment, the benefits couldn't compare. It was impossible for them to break the spell and kill 4 daching experts unless they were ready to sacrifice at least 3 of their daching experts. Moreover, during the great calamity of devil cultivation, they had already lost 1 of their daching experts, considerably weakening their strength, making it even more difficult for them to move against 100,000 mountains. Currently, the strength of the alliance of these 4 sects was already double of 100,000 mountains. The people leading the party weren't afraid of the few daching experts behind 100,000 mountains. Their only concern was that 7-star Heavenly Thunder spell. Even if they had a group of wielding and daching experts, still there would be heavy casualties to break the spell. I can break the 7-star Heavenly Thunder spell. Before starting, Yang Chen had guaranteed this in front of the group of experts. All the experts looked at each other in dismay. If Yang Chen hadn't concocted the heart-questioning pill, then someone would have already scolded him. But even then, many people didn't think his words were reasonable. The Foundation Stage Junior who concocts pills can break 7-star Heavenly Thunder spell. Even daching experts didn't dare to make such claims. It must be known that the 7-star Heavenly Thunder formation used a dangerous location of 100,000 mountain as foundation and was set up by a daching stage spell formation expert. That dangerous location was basically a place where lightning falls continuously. After being reinforced by spell formation, the might of thunder at that place has become greatly astonishing. The lightning here can be said to be comparable to the lightning tribulation of the 3 great tribulations. Yang Chen, a trifling Foundation Stage Junior, surprisingly dared to shoot his mouth, saying that he could break the spell. He was simply being delusional. Everyone only gave face to Pure Yang Palace and his title of pill concocting master and didn't say anything unpleasant. Then how about this, since seniors allow this junior to be impudent? Yang Chen understood what everyone was thinking, but didn't try to defend himself and faintly smiled while continuing. If Junior cannot break the 7-star Heavenly Thunder formation, then Junior agrees to refine a pill requested by each senior for them free of charge. What do you think? Since they were already planning to attack 100,000 mountains, that spell must be broken. But now, Yang Chen had taken the sole initiative to break the spell formation. Moreover, if he failed, he was still willing to refine elixirs for everyone free of charge. Where could they find such a great deal? At that time, not to mention other elixirs, just finding the raw materials and refining a batch of heart-questioning pills was sufficient to repay everyone's labor several times. No one said anything to oppose him, but everyone became hopeful, wishing that Yang Chen would be unable to break the spell formation and everyone could fairly obtain a heart-questioning pill. Only, at that time, they have to protect Yang Chen properly so that even if failed in breaking the spell, he wouldn't be injured by the spell formation. The news of Pure Yang Palace declaring 100,000 mountains to be the main culprit hadn't spread to 100,000 mountains currently. The secret organization of 100,000 mountains hadn't sensed that the imminent danger, completely oblivious to the fact that their villa had already been surrounded, a group of experts completely cutting off the escape for the people inside. Because of the 7-star Heavenly Thunder formation covering the villa, even daching experts on the outside couldn't use their spiritual awareness to examine the situation inside. Similarly, the people inside villa also couldn't use their spiritual awareness to examine the circumstances outside. Perhaps, they had absolute faith on the spell formation, so the people inside villa didn't think that anyone would come to attack them. Presently, Yang Chen was standing outside the spell formation, observing the lightning inside the spell formation which was waiting to strike. Slightly far away, a group of experts was curiously observing Yang Chen, trying to guess what kind of method did he plan to use to cut open the spell formation. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 223 Destroying the 7-star Godly Thunder Spell. Standing outside the 7-star Godly Thunder spell, Yang Chen halted for a moment as if trying to find the direction of lightning within the spell formation. Soon after, 2 red balls twice the size of fist appeared in his hands. What's that? Standing behind him, the pupils of the group of the expert shrank. Thunder pomegranate. Thunder pomegranate could absorb lightning. Because of this property, many people tried to find some thunder pomegranate when undergoing the lightning tribulation and use it to absorb some lightning. Although 7-star Godly Thunder formation was formidable, in the end, it was nothing but the strength of lightning and thunder. The thunder pomegranates could absorb lightning and thunder, there was no doubt about this, but wanting to break the 7-star Godly Thunder spell with nothing but thunder pomegranate was just Yang Chen being delusional. Leaving aside the fact that this spell formation has been set by a daching expert, the amount of power of thunder and lightning ingested by this spell formation for the past millennium years was unimaginable. Even if a daching expert enters it, they could only focus on self-preservation and nothing else. Although it was unpleasant to hear, only 2 thunder pomegranate were not enough to even get stuck between the teeth of the 7-star godly thunder spell. Whoosh whoosh, under Yang Chen's control, both thunder pomegranates flew within the spell formation. Once the spell formation sensed that some foreign object has entered spell formation and it doesn't comply with the unique route set by spell, the spell formation immediately began to attack. With rumbling sounds, the omnipresent lightning rushed towards the 2 thunder pomegranates. Everyone present on the scene apart from Yang Chen had passed the lightning tribulation. So they didn't feel anything over these 2 thunder pomegranates being wasted. A few old men shook their head in disappointment. Yang Chen was just overestimating his abilities. Why didn't he think anything before making a fool out of himself? Could it be that Yang Chen only has talent in pill concocting but isn't any good in other fields? Just when everyone was shaking their head or were at loss, another 2 thunder pomegranates appeared in Yang Chen's hand. This time they flew towards another direction. Next, everyone began to look as if Yang Chen was performing some magical trick. One after another, he produced 2 thunder pomegranates and as before, threw them in some direction. Moreover, his supply surprisingly didn't seem to be running out and in less than the time taken for a wick to burn, he had thrown another 2 more thunder pomegranates. By this time, the group of people from Pure Yang Palace were already dumbstruck. They didn't know that Yang Chen had successfully cultivated a thunder pomegranate tree. They seemed to have turned into stone and couldn't breathe. When he had returned from heavenly stairs, Chu Heng made fun of Yang Chen about his words over thunder pomegranate, wanting to use the opportunity to punish Yang Chen, but the matter was left unsettled. But now, seeing his actions, everyone understood what Yang Chen had done that time. By now, Yang Chen had casually taken out 200 thunder pomegranates. Wouldn't that mean he had successfully cultivated more than 10 trees of thunder pomegranate? How many seeds does one thunder pomegranate has inside it? How many thunder pomegranates had Yang Chen successfully cultivated? However, this was another pleasant surprise. Although every thunder pomegranate tree could produce 20 fruits at most, if they were cultivated on a large scale, wouldn't that mean that afterwards, if any Jedan expert of Pure Yang Palace doesn't have confidence in passing the lightning tribulation on his own, then he could be provided a thunder pomegranate fruit for assistance? Others also vaguely guessed such an outcome, but no one dared to confirm it. Moreover, even if he had used over 200 thunder pomegranate, there still wasn't any sign of the 7-star godly thunder spell formation breaking down. These experts had a lot of experience and could make out that these thunder pomegranates were approximately 20 years matured, so they weren't very precious. The effects of this type of fruits were greatly reduced, so probably just relying on these type of fruits wasn't sufficient to break the spell. Presently, contempt seemed to be rising up in everyone's mind. Their previous eyes couldn't be seen anymore as everyone began to ponder. How many thunder pomegranates would Yang Chen require to achieve results? What surprised everyone again was that the supply of thunder pomegranates still seemed to be endless for Yang Chen. Within a short time, he had thrown 200 more thunder pomegranates within the spell formation. Everyone couldn't help but feel shocked and wonder how many thunder pomegranates Yang Chen, this junior, has. By this time, the entire spell formation seemed to be aroused. Dazzling thunder seemed to be casting a huge net knitted of light. Apart from light from thunder, the only leftover sound was that of thunderclaps. Nothing else could be heard. Within a blink, Yang Chen had used 100 more thunder pomegranates, raising the total to 500 fruits. At this moment, Yang Chen didn't seem to be adding any more, rather waved his hand, causing 2 thunder pomegranates inside the 7-star godly thunder spell to return back to him, as if being tied by some kind of thread. After absorbing lightning until they were full, the appearance of thunder pomegranates changed. They didn't have that sort of red color from before, rather, they had turned black-red with indistinct flickers. His hand again flashed. These 2 full thunder pomegranates seemed to disappear within his hand. Soon after, 2 more red-colored thunder pomegranates immediately appeared in his hand and were again thrown inside spell like before, replacing the 2 fruits which had been replaced recently. Next, this cycle continued. Every time, Yang Chen would remove 2 thunder pomegranates and afterwards replace it with 2 new thunder pomegranates. What is he doing? Everyone again became suspicious. Replacing one fruit after another, what does he want to do? After absorbing the lightning to its limit, the thunder pomegranates can be refined into magic weapons which can explode according to their master's wish. Their strength couldn't be considered as weak. Immediately someone who had studied about thunder pomegranates explained. He is surprisingly using the 7-star godly thunder spell to refine magic weapon. Hearing this explanation, everyone didn't know what to think. Yang Chen, this youngster's mind was hard to fathom, making these old men feel inferior. Who could have thought that the 7-star godly thunder spell which could strike fear in anyone's heart could surprisingly be used like this? If the person who had deployed the spell formation knew that the 7-star godly thunder spell which he had deployed after a century's hard work, which had existed for 1,000 years absorbing countless amount of lightning energy, would surprisingly be used by someone to refine their magic weapon, he would be rolling about in his grave. That's odd. After Yang Chen had replaced the thunder pomegranates for the 4th time, the expert who had just explained about thunder pomegranates again found an anomaly. The thunder pomegranates he is holding now, its maturity far exceeds those he had used earlier. If he had sufficiently matured thunder pomegranates, why did he bother with those unripe fruits earlier? Everyone again felt a wave of confusion hitting them, no one could answer this question. However, no one troubled Yang Chen, moreover, everyone turned their gaze towards the earlier expert at the same time as if agreeing by chance, waiting for him to provide some explanation. That person carefully observed everything for a while, when suddenly an astonished look appeared on his face, as if he had thought of something unfathomable. The people around him resentfully reminded him once, after which he spoke in a serious tone. He is using the lightning power to rush the breeding of those thunder pomegranate trees. Once the expert gave a summary of his conclusion, a wave of shock once again washed over everyone. But it has to be said that with Yang Chen's display from the start, there was indeed a possibility of this happening. After the thunder pomegranate absorbed lightning, apart from being used as an explosive magic weapon, it could also be used to release thunder and lightning. Moreover, when placed in surroundings with thunder and lightning, the thunder pomegranate would grow exuberantly. Thus, Yang Chen using the lightning to urge the growth of thunder pomegranate trees wasn't impossible. Everyone, however, was still under great shock. Although thunder pomegranate provided good assistance in lightning tribulation, relying on excessive external help also wasn't good, so these people didn't place it in their eyes. Only those who lack confidence in passing the tribulation used it. Many devil cultivators also used it. However, it didn't change the fact that thunder the pomegranate tree was still difficult to grow. This was already a problem in the cultivation world for countless years. But for Yang Chen, this problem didn't seem to be anything difficult. If that expert's recent conclusion was true, then wouldn't it mean that Yang Chen did not only know the method to grow the thunder pomegranate tree, but he even knew how to speed up its growth? How was that possible? Countless people had researched this for too many years, but none have been successful, and this foundation stage junior, Yang Chen who has spent at most 40 years cultivating from the time he started, unexpectedly had already found a way to grow and speed up its maturity. Not only that, Yang Chen could apparently make a spirit pill like the heaven-seizing pill and an elixir to restore the constituent spirit of demon beasts. Moreover, he had also personally refined the mysterious heart-questioning pill. When the credits of all these unfathomable achievements went to one person, then people couldn't help getting astonished when thinking about it. However, right now clearly wasn't the time for everyone to be astonished. The thunder pomegranate in Yang Chen's hands had been reaching its limit in maturity, absorbing even more and more lightning. At this corner, the power of the spell formation also seemed to have reduced greatly. The lightning, which was initially densely packed, also became sparse. The time gap between two lightning bolts also began to widen. Even if the spell formation had absorbed large amounts of lightning, it couldn't last under the incessant absorption by 500 thunder pomegranates. Moreover, as the maturity of the last thunder pomegranate continued to approach the limit, it began to absorb larger and larger amounts of lightning. Its absorption rate also became quicker and quicker. What was most astonishing was that as the thunder pomegranate's maturity approached its limit and the absorption of lightning increased more and more, that pomegranate tree also began to mature faster and faster, which in turn led to further increase in the maturity of the thunder pomegranate in Yang Chen's hand. As this virtuous cycle continued, within less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the lightning at this corner had already been completely absorbed. No bolt fell in this area for a good moment. Careful observers had discovered that the places where Yang Chen replaced the thunder pomegranates every time were all fixed. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that only this corner had no lightning, but the lightning in other areas flickered vaguely and didn't seem as if the spell formation had been aroused. What did this mean? Everyone was again astounded. The only explanation could be that Yang Chen was so familiar with the 7-star godly thunder spell that he couldn't learn anything new about it. Just by the controlling the thunder pomegranates, he could determine how to break this formation or not. What did this show? Could Yang Chen also be a spell formation expert? An expert pill concocting master in addition to a pinnacle spell formation expert? What's left for which Yang Chen couldn't do? In front of Yang Chen, this foundation stage junior, this group of Yuaning and Daching experts felt ashamed to death. When their cultivation was at Yang Chen's level, they didn't know what to do, so how could they have the chance to follow a group of Yuaning and Daching experts to play? However, Yang Chen didn't pay any attention to these people's thoughts and was solely preoccupied with breaking the 7-star godly thunder spell. Now that he already had the control of one corner, he could use this nick to carve a path to lead the experts into the villa. Probably, even if the person who had deployed the spell was beaten to death, he couldn't have thought that there would be a foundation stage junior in a later generation who would use such a brilliant and domineering method to break his 7-star godly thunder spell. Just as the expert had guessed, Yang Chen had indeed used the absorbed lightning to urge the growth of a pomegranate tree. The seeds of thunder pomegranate had been influenced by the pure first wood spirit power to their limits, but there wasn't any place where formidable lightning fell in the medicine garden, so Yang Chen could only stimulate it at a piece of land to grow several tens of trees. In so many years, Yang Chen also didn't have the opportunity to upgrade his thunder pomegranates because firstly, stimulating lightning required large amount of spirit power and secondly, Yang Chen's current realm was too low, so transforming spirit power would waste a lot of it and was totally not worth the effort. These pomegranate trees could only produce these many fruits in so many years, which were difficult to use. When Yang Chen heard about the 7-star godly thunder spell, he had made the plan to use the natural lightning to promote the ripening of his pomegranate trees. When the lightning-filled thunder pomegranates began to meet with the roots of original thunder pomegranate trees' roots, the endless lightning energy began to rush through the roots. Because of this enormous lightning energy urging its growth, within a short while, the thunder pomegranate tree's maturity reached 100 years old. 100-year matured thunder pomegranates were a difficult to find treasure. One such fruit could absorb half the lightning of the lightning tribulation of a Jidan stage cultivator. So one thunder pomegranate fruit could double the chances of passing the lightning tribulation. The direction in which the thunder pomegranates were sprinkled was also perfectly chosen to cut into the spell formation, merely influencing one portion of the spell formation. With Yang Chen carrying out this mission in such brilliant fashion, one more portion was cleared neatly. If he continued with this speed, within a short time, a secret passage would be formed through the 7-star godly thunder spell. Even at ordinary times, the lightning kept rumbling around in 7-star godly thunder spell, with the lightning cutting spiritual awareness and no signs of large-scale activity on the side. It didn't give rise to the attention of anyone. Who could have thought that they would use such a freakish method to enter the villa? Initially, everyone was afraid that the sounds of breaking the spell formation would alert the enemy inside that something fishy was going on. But now, it seemed that they didn't need to care about this problem. When they thought about the scene when Yang Chen had proclaimed with full confidence that he could break the 7-star godly thunder spell, they couldn't help but think. This junior will be redoubtable in future. Finally, after Yang Chen exerting himself for 2 more hours, a path without any lightning or thunder was carved through the 7-star godly thunder spell. Seniors can now advance to meet the secret organization behind 100,000 mountains. Yang Chen pointed towards the end of passage and made a bowing gesture. Junior requests seniors to make their move and get justice for Junior's sect. Junior will stay behind to destroy the 7-star godly thunder formation and will quietly wait for senior's victory call. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 224 100,000 Mountain Changes Master. When old tree demon Qi Shanyu passed by Yang Chen smiled and reminded him. Same rules, leave their corpses for me. The corpse of daching experts could be considered as the best tonic for the delicate blood phantom vine in Yang Chen's clean bottle medicine garden. Nothing could be done about it after all, it was still alive after great damage to a major portion of the master root and master vine, which could already be said to be an enormous fortune. It certainly couldn't be restored without proper care for several hundred years. But the path to enter the villa opened, the group of experts stormed in. Now Yang Chen didn't need to be worried about being discovered by people and could brazenly absorb the lighting power of 7-star godly thunder spell. This time was completely different from before when he was trying to sneak in. At that time, Yang Chen had carefully controlled the direction of the 500 thunder pomegranates according to the requirement of spirit power to be absorbed to create the path. But now, he didn't have to worry about it and could release his control over those fruits, allowing them to brazenly absorb. Battle cries had already begun to echo out from the villa. After careful investigation for several years previously, Pure Yang Palace had verified that the daching experts of the secret organization remained at the villa to cultivate secretly in seclusion. The upper strata in control of business was also concentrated within the villa, so no one could flee without exception. With their numbers double that of enemy, the experts rushed into the villa like an indestructible force. Whether they had made a plan before or not, they still possessed an absolute superiority. The enemy was caught completely off guard and was rather shocked that the 7-star godly thunder spell had been of no use and couldn't form any decent resistance. But in the first moments of the attack, everyone under the daching stage had been dealt with. With no one to save these people, the Pure Yang Palace, which had already paid a great price, strictly didn't permit for any fish from the higher-ups to escape their net. The 9 daching experts began to carefully search the locations where the enemy daching experts were in seclusion. Within the 100,000 mountain, few people had absolute faith each other. These daching experts in charge of 100,000 mountains were also the same. Moreover, the only one who hadn't gone into seclusion was completely startled and was already fighting a battle with Elder Hua Wanting. All of their seclusion locations had severe restrictions placed on them with all kind of spell formations. Soon, Yang Chen heard a loud rumbling sound. He expected that noise should be the sound of all kind of restrictions being crazily destroyed by the group of experts. For the time being, these events had no relation to Yang Chen. Yang Chen was just a foundation stage junior. He had no role in a battle of such level. Even if he had the ability to defend himself, Shikui and Xie still had to be by his side pretending to protect him. No one felt this was inappropriate. Protecting Yang Chen also meant protecting the future heart-questioning pills. Moreover, Yang Chen had already played a major role in this battle. If the group had forcefully tried to break the 7-star godly thunder spell, then there was a high possibility that it would have alerted the people inside the villa, resulting in their campaign being much more difficult. Presently, Yang Chen was in the middle of absorbing the lightning energy and crazily urging the growth of the thunder pomegranate tree. Apart from urging the growth of the thunder pomegranate tree, he still wanted to refine the clean bottle containing the medicine garden at least once. After he left this village, he wouldn't find this situation anywhere else. In the future, finding a place where he could absorb the lightning energy without any problems would be difficult. In the beginning, Yang Chen had only made a few meters wide long passage through the enormous 7-star godly thunder spell. But now, he planned to completely absorb all the lightning energy within the spell. With Yang Chen recklessly urging the growth of the tree by reckless absorption, the pomegranate tree began to grow frantically. Like when Yang Chen had refined the clean bottle containing the medicine garden, the large amount of spirit power absorbed had increased the maturity of herbs within it by several years. It was the same with the absorption of lightning energy. In reality, the lightning energy was itself a first wood attribute. Only, it erupted slightly fiercely. This kind of frantic absorption of lightning energy was mainly to urge the growth of the pomegranate tree, but the clean bottle could also be refined simultaneously by using the formidable first wood spirit power. During his recent opening of the passage, Yang Chen hadn't been able to pay attention to this. Now, since he was relieved of that burden, Yang Chen naturally wouldn't let this opportunity go by. After asking Shikui and Xie to pay more attention, he began to use the lightning energy released from Thunder Pomegranate to refine the clean bottle of the medicine garden. The clean bottle had only been refined to the first layer of a heavenly star treasure refining secrets, which was accompanied by the refining of 5th earth true Kai. Last time, after the addition of 7th metal true Kai, he had only refined the domed hull, so naturally now he wanted to carefully refine the clean bottle itself. The lightning of 7-star godly thunder spell couldn't be used directly, but with the thunder pomegranate, this wasn't a problem anymore. After a simple refining done by Yang Chen, he could casually control the lightning energy within the thunder pomegranate however he wished, which was just perfect for this process. The lightning energy could be considered as a pure first wood power. Yang Chen carefully used this first wood spirit power in his body to carefully refine the lightning energy released by thunder pomegranates and move it to reach the second layer of the heavenly star treasure raising secrets. He then began his refining. Although his profound spirit furnace had already reached the 5th layer of heavenly stars and the 7th layer of earth fiend, this medicine garden itself was of much higher grade. Yang Chen could barely advance the second layer refining of heavenly stars treasure raising secrets. Who would have thought that while the group of daching experts were fiercely battling on one side of mountain, Yang Chen was leisurely advancing the refining of his magic weapon, and he was also using the lightning energy of enemy's 7-star godly thunder spell to do so. Pure lightning energy began to crazily flow inside the medicine garden, but apart from increasing spirit power, the clean bottle didn't show any great transformation. Even if the first wood power was much more pure, but still it couldn't transform solely based on its intrinsic quality. It has to be said, the clean bottle itself was sufficiently formidable. After Yang Chen had refined the thunder pomegranates once and begun to release more and more lightning energy from thunder pomegranates into the clean bottle, he had discovered that this little bit of lightning didn't have any effect on the clean bottle, and now, when it was being refined, the crazily pouring lightning energy also could only lead to an increase in spirit power without having any other effect. This also led to another result. That speed of refining became faster and faster. The refining which should have at least required 2 months by Yang Chen was completed in a short 20 hours under such circumstances. With the clean bottle successfully reaching the second layer of the heavenly stars treasure refining secrets. The genuine transformation happened when Li Yunmu used the Earth Fiend sacrificial formation secrets to refine the clean bottle. Same as the heavenly stars treasure refining secrets, when the refining began, the clean bottle began to crazily absorb the lightning energy. The lightning energy, which had been accumulating for thousands of years, helped the clean bottle succeed, and within a short few hours, the first layer refining of Earth Fiend sacrificial formation secrets was completed. After both the heavenly stars and Earth Fiend had been completed, a notable transformation occurred within the clean bottle. Not only had the space inside Medicine Garden increased greatly, even those herbs which belonged to the first wood attribute had their maturity increased by several decades. This still wasn't enough. The most startling change was the appearance of a door-like object within the clean bottle. Although it currently couldn't be opened, this also meant that there was still empty space within the clean bottle which Yang Chen couldn't yet access. But as long as he continued to refine it, there would be a day when he could open that space. Previously, Yang Chen used to believe that there were only some thousand years matured herbs in Medicine Garden. But after returning from that heavenly Roar Dog's Valley, he realized that something wasn't right. The previous master of the Medicine Garden must have ascended more than 10,000 years ago. If that person had planted these legendary herbs before ascending, then by now, they should have reached a maturity of at least 10,000 years and shouldn't only be some thousand years old. Although thousand-year-old legendary herbs could be considered as sufficiently precious, all of this didn't make any sense. The only possibility could be that there was another portion of the Medicine Garden. Presently, Yang Chen has only opened a portion of Medicine Garden, moreover, this portion should be the one where some seeds must have fallen 1,000 years ago and had now grown into medicinal herbs. Yang Chen still hadn't come across the genuine core. Although he was presently still unable to access the genuine core of Medicine Garden, the door to the core had already appeared. Believing that as his cultivation increased, there would be a day when this door could finally be opened and the secrets inside would finally be completely clear to Yang Chen. Looking at this door, the doubts in Yang Chen's heart finally cleared. After all, this explanation seemed more reasonable. From the beginning of the battle, 2 days had already passed, but the battle still continued. Each one of the several wielding stage experts held a spell flag in their hand and arranged an enormous spell formation within the villa. The spell could be broken only by simultaneously attacking all the wielding experts defending the spell formation. Otherwise, the people trapped inside could sneak out in a short amount of time. The 9 daching experts invited by Puryang Palace were battling the 4 most formidable experts of 100,000 mountains within the spell formation. The spell formation was deployed both to prevent people from fleeing away as well as to suppress the enormous fluctuations in spirit power. The battle between 13 daching experts wasn't something ordinary cultivators could imagine. With every move, all of them were driving the formidable power heaven and earth to attack. Even the several wielding experts could only rely on the spell formation to watch from far, but it was impossible for them to come near. Speaking of the battle, after being woken up from their seclusion meditation by attacks, the 3 daching experts of 100,000 mountains were both furious and alarmed. Just this sudden transformation seclusion to battle mode was sufficient to cause them grave injuries, almost causing them to cough up blood. Apart from the last one, who managed ordinary affairs and had been injured before the battle began. Confronting these 9 daching experts, the 4 people of 100,000 mountains also began to stake their life on the outcome. They clearly understood that since so many experts had started attacking as soon as they came, there was no chance for the people of 100,000 mountain to flee alive and, at this critical moment, they also had begun to erupt with power. As the saying goes, place anyone on the field of death and they would fight to live. Facing death's door, the 4 enemies were trying their best. In the face of their full power attacks, the 9 experts didn't have the intention to die together with them. Since they occupied complete superiority, they naturally wanted to obtain the best results. Even if they had to delay the fight a bit longer, they wanted to make the enemy consume all their spirit power and die without their own side suffering any major casualty. This was also the reason why the battle had continued for so long. Facing the attacks of the 9 experts, the 4 enemies were completely spent. One of them, who had the most serious injuries, was unable to defend himself in battle and hid behind his companion's back struggling whilst at death's door. With one less enemy, everyone's spirit was greatly roused. With this disturbance and balance, the 4 of them didn't have any chance to get lucky. They didn't even know why they had to suddenly experience this type of calamity which exterminated them. Under the continuous attack of the 9 daching experts, the 4 enemy experts, who were unable to close their eyes because of regret, finally died. The instant they perished, everyone outside the spell formation loudly cheered. Everyone in the villa had been exterminated. This also implied that the original upper echelons controlling the 100,000 mountains behind the scenes had been exterminated, only leaving a few scum behind. 100,000 Mountain was a pragmatic place, since these people were exchanged with an even more formidable backstage power. The people who ran businesses naturally submitted obediently, not daring to be rash. The end of this battle also implied that the 100,000 Mountains was now under the control of the alliance of the four sects. In the future, the countless treasures and natural resources would be the profits of these four sects. However, the counterattack by the four experts facing death's door had also wounded 5 out of 9 experts. Fortunately, most of them only had light injuries and hadn't lost any battle strength. However, despite that, there were also 2 experts whose cultivation had dropped. But killing 4 daching experts for such price had really been a profitable business. Old Tree Demon had already used the heart-questioning pill and harmonized with the Penglai divine wood, so he had formed another clone using the body-dividing secrets. This clone was sent here. He was also the one who had sustained the most serious injuries. After all, the Pure Yang Palace had been the main instigator. Moreover, they had to do their best since they were here under the pretense of getting revenge. Their next action was naturally to sort through the battlefield and divide spoils of war. Soon after, a batch of staff rushed over and scattered over the entire estate of the 100,000 Mountains to quickly stabilize the markets and calm down people. The most difficult task was to kill these 4 formidable experts, which had been accomplished, so there were no more difficulties left. Soon after news spread, the people of 100,000 Mountains had surprisingly tried to destroy the Pure Yang Palace. In return, the Pure Yang Palace had immediately formed alliance with few big sects and had ruthlessly exacted their revenge. With the destruction of the secret organization, everything else went as expected. Especially when the 4-sect alliance declared that the rules of 100,000 Mountains would remain the same, cultivators of all paths including Tao, Devil and Demon paths could enter whenever they wanted, only, no one could seize the treasures of the weak by relying on their strength. Which even received the support of many cultivators. This move of the 4-sect alliance had astonished the entire world, especially when the Pure Yang Palace showed the bloodthirstiness which they rarely displayed. They gained a whole new level of respect among the cultivators. After the end of this matter, no one dared to act like that clan and tried to act shamelessly with the Pure Yang Palace. It must be known that the sect area of the Pure Yang Palace was still under construction. Only God knows whether the demonic fire formed after their sect had been destroyed had been completely vented or not. If someone still dared to go against them, they would just be courting death. The later matters didn't have anything to do with Yang Chen. He even handed over the task of receiving the spoils of war to the old Tree Demon's clone and Great Master Wang Yong. He himself only received the corpses of the 4 daching experts and directly returned back to the Miking Mountain and to the Pure Yang Palace with Shikui and Xia Sha. Even without adding the spoils of war, this time, his harvest had been enormous. Not to mention other things, just urging the growth of the thunder pomegranate trees had allowed them to reach 200 years maturity. Moreover, he was also able to refine the clean bottle medicine garden once more and discovered the secret door. This was already sufficient to make him delighted. Furthermore, he had also been able to get rid of Liang Shaming, the spy of the greatest heaven sect, ensuring his master's safety. What else could be a better reward for him? After returning to the sect, the first thing he did was to go see his master. After greeting her once to let her know that everyone was safe and in good health, he went straight to the main hall of the Pure Yang Palace to see Palace Master. Everything successful. Seeing Yang Chen come, Palace Master asked feeling pleasantly surprised. Successful. Yang Chen nodded, giving a positive reply to Palace Master. Good. Palace Master exhaled a deep breath and relaxed. He then continued to talk with Yang Chen. Yang Chen, the matter which you mentioned last time, I have thought about it carefully, but it will still be planned and managed according to your intentions. Eh? Yang Chen was startled, feeling completely confused, the matter he mentioned last time. What matter was that? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 225 Palace Master's Cultivation. Palace Master didn't have any hesitation in front of Yang Chen and directly spoke what he was thinking. After suffering from the ambush last time, he had clearly realized that his cultivation was still weak. Although it was sufficient to manage a second-rate sect, but as Pure Yang Palace has developed in recent times and considering its future development, he understood that his cultivation may not be able to keep up with it. Therefore, the matter of quickly increasing his cultivation was the most pressing issue for him presently. But, Palace Master was in the end the Palace Master, elders like Wang Yong would often enter seclusion, but he couldn't do this so lightly as he still has to manage the Pure Yang Palace. So an efficient method to increase his cultivation has become all the more important. Just as Yang Chen had previously mentioned, he knew a metal-attributed dual cultivation method which could help increase the Palace Master's cultivation by using a harmonious dual cultivation process. Such a method was perfectly suitable for the Palace Master. He wouldn't need to enter seclusion during cultivation, but the results would still approximately be the same as if he did. That's why the palace master was currently having this conversation with Yang Chen. Yang Chen immediately realized what the palace master was thinking. He didn't find anything abnormal about it. Wanting to increase his cultivation while sparing no efforts in working for the sect, in fact, Palace Master Zhang was indeed a good sect leader. During Yang Chen's previous life, the Palace Master wasn't good at seeing the true color of people. He had been fooled by people like Liang Shaming at the end. But now, this type of problem no longer existed. Liang Shaming had already been dealt with. Moreover, the sect had also began to walk on the path of rapid development. Seeing the bright future prospects of the Puryang Palace, Palace Master was also confidently rushing to increase his strength. The Palace Master was not alone in displaying this attitude. Wing Yong and the other elders felt the same as the Palace Master. All of them were filled with the hope of revitalizing the Puryang Palace and were going all out in hopes of building a bright future. This was the Puryang Palace which Yang Chen had always desired to see. I have carefully thought about this for many days and have selected some Dao companions which may be suitable. Palace Master amiably said to Yang Chen. Help me take a look and see which one of them is most suitable. His words were completely natural. The Palace Master didn't feel the least bit embarrassed and restricted because of asking a junior like Yang Chen to assist in selecting a suitable Dao companion in his place. Yang Chen also didn't feel this was something to be embarrassed about, since the cultivation method had come from him. Yang Chen could also determine which one was most suitable among them compared to others. He looked over the candidates once, all of them were Yuning experts from either the Green Jade Immortal Islands or the Clear Sky sect. Both the Green Jade Immortal Islands and the Clear Sky sect had many female disciples, and the majority of their experts were also women. Presently the Puryang Palace had good coordination with these two big sects at the 100,000 Mountains. If Palace Master was willing to choose a Dao companion from either of their sects, that will also make the relationship between the sects closer. Looking at this list of names, Yang Chen suddenly felt as if he was being relieved of a burden. If the Palace Master was willing to personally step in and advance their friendship, that would consolidate the relationship between sects even more strongly than Yang Chen choosing Zhanxian or Sun Qingxu as his Dao companion. But as soon as he had this thought, Yang Chen was dejected. The Palace Master could not have two Dao companions. Neither the Clear Sky sect nor the Green Jade Immortal Islands would agree to send one disciple from each sect to become Dao companions with the Palace Master. Regardless of whomever Palace Master chose, it would attract resentment from the other sect unless someone from the elders also used this method to tie knot with someone from the other sect at the same time. Dao companions were very beneficial for everyone, but if the Puryang Palace relied on such methods, then it certainly would be mocked by people for using women to attach with two big sects. The hope of revitalizing a sect which had been formed with great difficulty would also be suppressed by rumors and gossip. Probably, the Palace Master had also thought about this and that's why had consulted with Yang Chen. When Yang Chen took a quick look, he suddenly discovered a familiar name. Clear Sky Sect's elder Mo Qian, who also had a full metal spirit root, had the cultivation at the mid-Yuning stage and was perfectly equivalent with the Palace Master, making her a suitable candidate. Currently Mo Qian was in Yang Chen's medicine garden, untiredly and crazily cultivating. If the Palace Master was willing, Yang Chen was absolutely happy to take her out and make her the Palace Master's Dao companion. In this way, the cultivation of both the Palace Master and Mo Qian would increase. Moreover, because Mo Qian had disappeared for some time now, as long as they keep it a secret, no one would think that her disappearance had any relation with Puryang Palace. The only problem was that presently Yang Chen still didn't dare to suddenly inform the Palace Master that Mo Qian had already become a vegetable. He didn't fear that the Palace Master would sell him out, but rather this information was too shocking. The best way would be to make the Palace Master slowly accept this. Palace Master, according to disciples' thoughts, Clear Sky Sect's Idler Mo Qian is a suitable candidate. Yang Chen mulled over it for a moment and raised his suggestion to Palace Master. Elder Mo Qian. Palace Master creased his brows. Mo Qian's name was towards the end of the list. The main reason for this was that currently, the whereabouts of Mo Qian and her disciples wasn't known, so there wasn't any way to select Mo Qian for the time being. Clear Sky Sect's elder Mo had been missing for a few decades. Fearing that Yang Chen wasn't aware, Palace Master explained to Yang Chen. I am afraid that it won't be so easy. When we get to the mountain, there'll be a way. Palace Master doesn't need to worry about this for now. Yang Chen smiled and continued. However, it will be best if Palace Master follows disciples Great Master and refine a destined flying sword first. The matter of Wang Yong refining a destined flying sword hadn't been secret among the elders of the same sect. Moreover, after refining for many years in seclusion, Wang Yong's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Everyone had noted this point and were filled with a craving to do the same. Now Yang Chen was also saying that this was a good method. Destined flying sword. A shine passed through the palace master's eyes at the thought. After the possession of 100,000 mountains, he had all the required ingredients. Moreover, refining a destined flying sword was indeed an enormous lure. Previously, he didn't have any good ingredients, but now he didn't need to worry about this lack. Moreover, refining destined flying sword was completely different from other things. He absolutely didn't have need to enter seclusion. Like Yang Chen, whose immortal executing blade was being nourished within his spirit seed presently, it didn't hinder Yang Chen's regular activities in the least. It would only take a little more time, that's all. Speaking of which, disciple has some suitable ingredients. Yang Chen laughed, taking out that golden seal obtained after killing the wielding stage expert last time and presenting it to Palace Master. Although that golden seal had been turned into shreds by the sword spell of the domed hall and had been ruined beyond recognition. But even if this magic weapon, while being considered as damaged beyond repair, the materials used to make it were still there and could still be considered as first-rate metal-attributed materials. They were more than suitable to be used for refining a metal-attributed flying sword. This golden seal. Don't you want to keep it for yourself? Naturally, the palace master knew that this golden seal was an exceptionally good raw materials to refine a destined flying sword, but as a palace master, he couldn't lower himself to taking a disciple's belongings to refine his own destined flying sword. For the time being, disciple isn't refining his metal-attributed flying sword. This gift could be considered as disciple showing his filial respects, palace master should accept it. Yang Chen smiled and pushed the golden seal towards palace master. As for Palace Master's Tao companion for dual cultivation, disciple will think about it and find a way. First planting the seeds here which would allow Palace Master to have some mental preparation, thus when he took out Mo Qian in the future, Palace Master should be able to accept it. At least it wouldn't go as far as giving him a sudden fright. Moreover, during this time, Yang Chen needed to refine the living puppet of Mo Qian once more so as to avoid any mishaps after her cultivation increased. Although the chances of such an accident happening were too low, but he just wanted to be cautious in case of every possibility. Palace Master wasn't too astonished when Yang Chen gifted the golden seal to him. He could even hand over the heart-questioning pill without the slightest hesitation, then what to speak of a little raw material. By comparison, Palace Master cared 100 times more about Yang Chen's kind intentions than that ungrateful bastard Liang Shoming. This golden seal was sufficient to keep the Palace Master occupied for a long time. Then Yang Chen provided him with a detailed explanation of everything that had happened at the 100,000 mountains. Hearing the tale caused the palace master to once again become washed over by a wave of astonishment. You cultivated thunder pomegranates. Palace master didn't dare to believe what he was hearing. Both of his eyes went wide and a dumbstruck expression appeared on his face. Few years ago, someone wanted to use this as an opportunity to punish Yang Chen, but who could have thought that unexpectedly Yang Chen had already reared thunder pomegranates. Yang Chen didn't reply directly, rather took out 10 thunder pomegranates from his Qiankan pouch and placed them in front of Palace Master. These thunder pomegranates had sufficient maturity and had also discharged the thunder energy, making them ready to be used for absorbing lightning. Palace Master reached out his hand to pick the thunder pomegranates and examined them one by one. After looking at these thunder pomegranates with same size, same maturity, apart from being both alarmed and excited at the same time, what could he say? This would make sure that the underconfident Zhanxian cultivators of my sect also have the hope of entering wielding stage. Palace Master didn't know how to describe his current mood. Capturing the 100,000 mountain had made the Pure Yang Palace wealthy and overbearing, but these thunder pomegranates would give hope to many Zhanxian experts who had no hopes of reaching wielding stage. Although relying on external sources to increase cultivation wasn't the best method, but regarding those disciples whose aptitude was average, reaching Zhanxian stage was already the limit. But now, with these thunder pomegranates, they had the possibility of entering wielding stage and to increase their life expectancy while greatly increasing their cultivation at the same time. Whether it was for the disciple or for the sect, this was a huge matter. Many wielding stage disciples also meant an increase in the sect strength. Moreover, after reaching the wielding stage, maybe they could also rush towards even higher realms. The higher the realm, the greater the chances, absolutely a win-win situation. These thunder pomegranates, how many do you have? The sect will buy from you. The palace master obviously knew which matters were important and which matters weren't and directly said to Yang Chen. Sect contribution points, spirit stones, magic weapons, cultivation methods, other materials, whatever you need, you will get. The increase in the sect strength was also related to cultivating the lower level disciples, apart from the natural resources it possessed or the number of experts it had. Presently, with the Shunkai pill, the number of outer disciples of the Pure Yang Palace had greatly increased. With the Thunder Pomegranates, the hopes of Jidan experts would also be boosted. High-level elders also had the heart-questioning pill, so from top to bottom, the Pure Yang Palace's strength was increasing. As a palace master, what else could he hope for? Speaking of which, all these were almost because of Yang Chen. Or it could also be said that everything was completely because of Yang Chen. From Shunkai pill to the Thunder Pomegranate to the heart-questioning pill, and from the 100,000 mountains to finding the traitor Liang Shaming, every matter had some relation with Yang Chen. At this very moment, the palace master even had an intense desire to nurture Yang Chen as the next generation palace master. Once this thought appeared in his mind, it couldn't be suppressed again. Although this kind of matter still required consultation with other elders, but he was convinced that other elders absolutely wouldn't oppose it. A disciple who possessed such a strong luck and moreover still had the innate talent in concocting pills. Who wouldn't be willing? Just the achievements of Yang Chen in the previous few years were sufficient to make the palace master himself feel inferior, let alone other elders. Palace master, these thunder pomegranates have already been revealed in front of experts of other sects, so disciple doesn't think there is a great possibility that the sect can monopolize them. Looking at the palace master within his beautiful dream, Yang Chen found it somewhat laughable, but he had no choice other than to break palace master's beautiful dream. Even if disciple hands all of them over to the sect, then they will use all kinds of other means to demand them from the sect. Then, your words make sense. Palace master was worthy of being the palace master, he immediately became aware of the reality and at once figured out a response. However, since you have found the method of growing them, so if they want them, then they must be willing to indebted to my sect and perhaps would have to pay with something exceeding the price of thunder pomegranates itself in exchange. In the end, we are the ones who would get the most benefits. You don't have to worry about these, the sect will help you. Yes, palace master. Yang Chen knew that palace master would think of a countermeasure, so he just touched the subject but didn't delve deeper. Yang Chen, recently you have been in limelight, which is both good and bad. After rejoicing, the palace master began to worry about Yang Chen. Since he had planned to cultivate Yang Chen as the next palace master, this matter required even more comprehensive consideration to nurture him. First and foremost being his safety. In the future, whenever you go out of the sect, regardless of wherever you go or at what time, you must take along Shikui and Xiexia. Both of them are also fond of being with you, so they will also look after your safety. Yes, palace master. Yang Chen replied. Yang Chen, who had a lot of experience, could clearly understand the palace master's concern. Their cultivation, within less than 4 decades after reaching foundation stage, it has already progressed to late foundation stage. Palace master continued. Their cultivation speed is unprecedented. Although it has some relation to absorbing flames, but you yourself had also been persistent and hardworking. However, don't be too hasty, even if you have many legendary herbs, don't abuse them. When the time is suitable, properly consolidate current cultivation first. By all means, don't harm yourself. In all fairness, this was his genuine worry. Yang Chen's cultivation speed had indeed been fast, so fast that anyone hearing about it for the first time wouldn't dare to believe it. Even the Green Jade Immortal Island Zhanxian had spent a full 80 years in the foundation stage before reaching the Jidan stage. Since even the people with a full spirit root had taken so long, then what to speak of Yang Chen? Regarding this, the palace master's concern. Disciple understands. Yang Chen bowed and made his salutations to express his gratitude. With the matter of 100,000 mountains settled, disciple had also intended to settle down and consolidate his cultivation first. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 226 Exploring Another Residence. Yang Chen himself had sensed some disequilibrium in his cultivation. If he hadn't been busy dealing with the 100,000 mountain to completely remove the threat to Gao Yu, then he would have already taken care of it. On the surface, he completely seemed to be a fire-attributed cultivator, since his cultivation in the fire attribute had surpassed others. But this wasn't a good phenomenon regarding the Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets or the great Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets that he cultivated. The most important thing in the Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets was equilibrium. Although he could tolerate his fire attribute spirit power surpassing others for a short time, but finally he had to achieve equilibrium. So Yang Chen had intended to spend some time on increasing other attribute spirit power. In any case, the fiercest people of the 100,000 mountain had been subdued, there will certainly be no one left who would want to take revenge for the young master or the old manager of the auction house, and even if someone would want to take revenge, it will be directed towards the Pure Yang Palace and not Yang Chen or Gao Yu. Just when Yang Chen was going to leave, the palace master suddenly called him back and informed him about another matter which was giving him endless headache. I have made many trips to Clear Sky Sect. They have requested that Sun Kingsu should be treated the same as Zhanxian, asking you to not favor one and discriminate against another. Since you have already taken a trip with Zhanxian, then you must also go out with Sun Kingsu on a trip to gain experience. During his previous life, Yang Chen basically didn't have to fight this kind of battle and thus didn't have the least bit of experience about it. He was totally oblivious that his indecision and procrastination had caused great jealousy. In fact, among cultivators, very few people had to worry about this kind of problem. Yang Chen's current problem was extremely unique. Yes, Palace Master. Since Palace Master had already instructed him, Yang Chen could only agree helplessly. He didn't dislike Sun Kingsu, and since he had already taken a trip with Zhanxian, then going with Sun Kingsu also wasn't a big problem. When the matter regarding 100,000 mountains was being planned, everything was arranged carefully and quietly, but when the alliance of the four sects genuinely made a move, they uprooted the enemy with an irresistible force. The Dao sects raised a great clamor after the Puryang Palace and other three sects made their move. But the matter had already reached this stage, it was completely impossible for anyone to try to stick their foot, regardless of whatever pretense they used. That wouldn't be considered as helping, rather a scheme to forcefully seize the business of these four sects and incur hatred of ruining the livelihood of other people. No one would be foolish enough to infuriate both the Clear Sky sect and Green Jade Immortal Islands at the same time together with Puryang Palace and Beast Taming sects, both of whom had a daching expert. The follow-up personnel had also been dispatched and everything had been taken care of. 9 daching experts with several Yuaning experts had formed 9 squads and had began to receive underlings for controlling 100,000 mountains from behind the scenes. A complete new mountain manor had been established at another location. Yang Chen had completely absorbed the thunder and lightning power of the 7-star godly thunder spell, and the battle among the 13 daching experts had already reduced the previous villa into pieces, removing any possibility of future use. Usually 3 daching experts would be stationed here, 1 from each Green Jade Immortal Islands and Clear Sky sect respectively. Since they have many experts and can take turns to come here. The last place would be alternated between Puryang Palace and Beast Taming sect, each sect's expert would take responsibility for 10 years. Naturally, these guarding experts wouldn't have to manage anything specific. The ordinary matter would be handled by people who knew how to run a business and who would be dispatched by these 4 sects. It was clear that if the current system at 100,000 mountains was better than before, then the earnings will also be higher. Regarding the worries of Dao, Demon and Devil paths, the 4 sects displayed complete sincerity. This time, it was completely the fault of the 100,000 mountain who had destroyed the Puryang Palace's sect area first. Taking revenge was the sole reason why these 4 sects had attacked. As for the future matters, business was business. It was completely unrelated to position of Dao, Demon and Devil paths. This position of view was approved by everyone. Apart from the Puryang Palace, the only ones who knew the actual situation were the Greatest Heaven sect, but they didn't dare to speak up. In any case, the Greatest Heaven sect couldn't just proclaim that the Puryang Palace wasn't destroyed by the 100,000 mountains, rather by their mole at Puryang Palace. Everything had been advancing properly according to the arrangements. The visits between the 4 sects had also become exceptionally frequent. This time's trip was just for the spoils of war at the villa, which made everyone sufficiently excited. They couldn't be considered a replacement of the heart-questioning pill promised by Yang Chen, but such good affairs, the more they happen the better. Puryang Palace's eccentric hall's hallmaster Gi Shanyu was among the people who were selected for the first turn to oversee the 100,000 mountain. The 100,000 mountain was basically his home. After pacify the few remaining disobedient people, the old tree demon again sprinkled large number of cassia tree sprouts, with their numbers reaching several tens of thousands, like he had done at Myking Mountain. When the roots of all had been combined together, Gi Shanyu would know of all activities in every area of the 100,000 mountains at all times. So, no one could be more suitable than him to be appointed among the first overseers. Naturally, it was Gi Shanyu's clone which had gone to sit guard, and its original body was still at Yang Chen's courtyard in the Puryang Palace, absorbing Penglai divine wood. The matter of operating business had no relation with Yang Chen for the time being, as it was being dealt by specialized people from the 4 sects. Yang Chen rushed back to Gao Yu's side. His master's water-attributed cultivation had already reached mid-foundation stage, so it was time that he should discuss cultivation with his master. Yang Chen had revealed a lot of things on this trip. Heart-questioning pill, thunder pomegranate as well as magic weapon which could kill Yuaning stage experts. If someone would want to attack Yang Chen in the future, he would certainly factor all those things. Yang Chen could only find some other trump cards which other people couldn't possibly know about. His great master had already refined the fire killin's horn into a flying sword, but his master's flying sword hadn't been settled yet. At the same time, Yang Chen also needed to think about Gongsun Ling's destined flying sword. Recalling about the remaining magic weapons at the Palace of Dragons, Yang Chen's heart began to beat faster. Heavenly Roar had already swallowed half of Heavenly Roar Dog's blood essence. The bloodlines of Yazi within his body had been completely aroused. Present Heavenly Roar didn't look like that weak little pup anymore. Its head had remained the same, but its body had grown longer, resembling more and more a dragon's body. The long slender body would remain wrapped around the bright ray sword all day long, without the slightest fear of its sharp edge. Within its mouth, it would hold the second wood flying sword tightly, afraid that someone may snatch it. Only Yang Chen could take the flying sword away from him. Yazi, Dragon's second son, had the body of a dragon and the head of a dog, an unyielding temperament, was a brave and ruthless warrior, and fond of belligerent killing. He would always hold a magic weapon in his mouth, had glaring eyes, and would be engraved on the sword hilts and knife ends to increase their strength. Heavenly Roar had began to look like the legendary Yazi more and more with time. Perhaps right now, the bloodlines were being aroused frantically. After Heavenly Roar had completely transformed into Yazi, he might completely remove the restrictions at the Palace of Dragon King and collect all the items left there. Thinking this, Yang Chen again looked at Heavenly Roar's figure and without any hesitation, fed it the remaining half-blood essence. Yang Chen, you tell us. Since the sect had suddenly seized the 100,000 mountains, would it attract the envy from other sects? Bao Yu had just heard about the sect's large-scale action and couldn't help but feel astonished at the daring of sect's upper echelon. When Yang Chen had hurried over to her, she had been discussing this issue with Gongsun Ling. As she saw Yang Chen, she naturally asked him. How can that happen? Yang Chen laughed, then started to explain. The issue of our sect mountain being destroyed was just an excuse. The Green Jade Immortal Islands and Clear Sky sect were the main force. My sect and Beast Taming sect were only assistants. If other sects have some ideas about the 100,000 mountains, then first they must think of a way to deal with Green Jade Immortal Islands and Clear Sky sect. The two females had only been talking about it, but they weren't worried much. However, Gao Yu kept staring at Yang Chen for a long time without saying anything. She then asked with a straight face. Is this all because of you? 100,000 mountains were unwilling to give up and insisted on settling alt scores. Yang Chen nodded his head this time. He also fearlessly informed Gao Yu of the truth. Disciple had already been attacked by them twice. Disciple was afraid that they would come after Master and thus made the first strike to get the upper hand. Bao Yu had guessed the entire story. Last time, Yang Chen had raised a commotion at the 100,000 mountains without the slightest hesitation. If he hadn't been worried about Gao Yu's injury, then he wouldn't have let them off lightly just by getting rid of that auctions manager and young master. If at that time, any one of the 4 daching experts had been present, then Yang Chen wouldn't have had the slightest hesitation in using his blood river. Then even if he would have to again refine his destined immortal beheading blade, he would have certainly massacred the entire 100,000 mountains, turning it into an ocean of blood. Regarding her disciples' thinking, Gao Yu just didn't know what to say that would be good. However, the most sensitive heartstrings in her heart again began to stir. A lump formed in her throat and tears glistened in her eyes. But, in the end, she was able to endure in front of Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling. For her, Yang Chen had surprisingly uprooted the entire 100,000 mountains which had 4 daching experts. While he was only at the foundation stage now. Thinking about this, Gao Yu was moved emotionally while being astonished and alarmed at the same time. For such a simple reason, Yang Chen had first taken out the heart-questioning pill and then the thunder pomegranates. The appearance of any one of those items could easily send the cultivation world into turmoil, but Yang Chen had revealed them to ensure her safety and remove the mark from her back. Such affection, Gao Yu didn't even know how to respond to them. Gongsun Ling looked at Yang Chen with eyes full of envy, but also with tenderness. Even if cultivators were supposed to have severed all their emotions, but in the end, some human feelings still remain. No need to be anxious. The matter has already been dealt with. Yang Chen consoled his master. Looking at master's almost crying face, Yang Chen's heart was filled with sweetness. For his master, even if he had paid an even higher price, then also what would be the problem? For some years, stay within the sect. Don't run around everywhere. Bao Yu commanded in a dignified and unyielding tone. Presently, there certainly will be many people on the outside who would wish to harm you, so you must not casually go out. Yes, master. Yang Chen also didn't oppose and agreed. In any case, Heavenly Roar would still require a long time to absorb the blood essence. During this time, he would obediently remain inside the sect and accompany his master. However, Gao Yu's concern also reminded Yang Chen. The Pure Yang Palace had allied with the Green Jade Immortal Islands and the Clear Sky sect and had captured the 100,000 mountains. Although temporarily people wouldn't dare to have any ideas about the Pure Yang Palace, as the profits poured in, it would certainly attract the greed of others. Maybe they couldn't do anything to the Pure Yang Palace as a whole, but dealing with some disciples of the Pure Yang Palace wasn't impossible. The cultivation world couldn't do without such matters, so he needed to properly make the preparations to counter them. Naturally, the best method was to substantially increase the battle strength of all the disciples of the Pure Yang Palace. If the strength of the entire Pure Yang Palace increased, then it would be like the top sects, and others wouldn't dare to have devious ideas about them. For the time being, Yang Chen didn't have any method to care for all the disciples of the Pure Yang Palace. However, the case was different for the people by his side like his master, Gongsun Ling, Du Qian, Wang Yong or Shangyuan Feng. The strength of those people must be increased quickly. Soon, Yang Chen remembered a place which was greatly suitable for everyone at the foundation stage to temper themselves and increase their battle strength. Moreover, this location still had other benefits. That place didn't hold much significance for Yang Chen, but after he could completely control it, it would offer an exceptional training location as well as a place to retreat to at a critical time. Even a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. Currently Pure Yang Palace had just the Myking Mountain and the 100,000 Mountain. The sect still lacked one more. The location Yang Chen had recalled was just perfect. It could be regarded as a training location for a long time, and if he could collect it for himself, then it could act as exceptionally good habitat for the Pure Yang Palace. The grade of this legendary abode was very high. As Yang Chen remembered, this cave was left by someone facing death's door at the Qingqiang Mountain and was sealed at the moment. The seal required a special method to be opened. As for collecting it, the process was an even more troublesome. The spirit power on Qingqiang Mountain was far more plentiful compared to Myking Mountain. That cave could even be classified as blessed by God. It was quite far from Myking Mountain where the Pure Yang Palace was currently located. Yang Chen had many such caves in his memory, but he couldn't occupy them all by himself. Moreover, compared to the Dragon King's palace where magic weapons were hidden, which cave could be considered a better residence? As for the others, naturally Yang Chen would give priority to the people by his side to obtain the benefits first. Qingqiang Mountain's legendary abode had been sealed for a long time. Reportedly, it had many demon beasts and puppets. Presently, it was unknown how these inhabitants might have matured. One thing was certain, the cave was naturally divided into different grade palaces and other locations, which contains demon beasts and puppets of different grades, making it an exceptionally good training location. The legendary abode was sufficiently large. Even if the entire Pure Yang Palace, which contained thousands of disciples, was to move in, there would still be much space left. Even if the Pure Yang Palace was much larger, the legendary abode would still be able to hold it. Originally, it was the place for a large sect to take refuge in, but some unknown entity exterminated the entire sect. Later it became the dwelling of someone from the heavenly court and now it had fallen into Yang Chen's hands. There weren't any other problems with this cave and it was just the perfect place to be used to train those people by his side. It was also a good place to stroll around sometimes. He knew that apart from the demon beasts and puppets, this cave dwelling also contained a large number of medicinal fields, which had been sealed for more than 10,000 years. If they hadn't been wrecked by the demon beasts, then he could obtain many benefits. Moreover, it was also unknown whether the treasury of that large sect had been plundered or not. Even if it didn't contain all these, just the location, which had exceptional spirit power, was enough to nurture 10,000-year-old demon beasts and was already a treasure which could make anyone drool over. If he even plucked a body hair from any of those demon beasts, it could also be sold as 1,000-year-old profound silk. This kind of place was perfect for Master and Gongsun Ling to temper themselves. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 227 Master will make the decision for you. Coincidentally, all the people Yang Chen was thinking about had already gone out. Du Qian, Shangyuan Feng, and Wang Yong, as well as Yang Chen's previous 4 servants, had surprisingly all had been sent out by their respective masters. Only his master, Gao Yu, and his senior apprentice sister Gongsun Ling, were left. It can only be said that their luck is lacking. Yang Chen slightly regretted and gave up on waiting for them. He decided to do some scouting with his master and senior apprentice sister first. This time, Yang Chen had planned to let his master and senior apprentice sister get some training as well as obtain some benefits for himself, so for the time being, he didn't inform other people of the sect. Moreover, reporting something to the sect required proof. He couldn't just go and shoot his mouth. It was better to first make a trip with them. This trip would also give him the opportunity to make up some excuse like they just encountered that location while traveling. Where are you taking us? Gao Yu knew that Yang Chen frequently did actions that astonished everyone. Therefore, she didn't feel it was odd and also didn't refuse and just asked him first about it. A good place. You don't need to worry about where we are going. In any case, disciple will never harm master. Yang Chen didn't said anything to remove their doubts because he didn't want to ruin the surprise. Bao Yu agreed. Gongsun Ling also nodded her head, so Yang Chen immediately went to the palace master to make a report. There was nothing to be done about it. Presently, he was a popular person in the sect, so he wasn't allowed to casually go out. The palace master must always know his whereabouts. Disciple is going out to gain experience with master and senior apprentice sister. Yang Chen told him a little fib since this wasn't any important matter, so he kept it a secret for the time being. Okay, but take Shikui and Xie along and also remember to be careful. Naturally, the palace master wouldn't restrict Yang Chen's freedom and only reminded him to take along the two experts as protection. Right now, the palace master was concerned about dealing with how the matter of the 100,000 mountains was being received as well as making the business arrangements and didn't have the time to solely concentrate on Yang Chen. In any case, as long as Yang Chen was safe, he could go wherever he wanted. Every time Shikui and Xie followed after Yang Chen, both of them could kill people and loot their wealth, which perfectly suited their preferences. Especially, brazenly killing and plundering their belongings, which surprisingly also gained them praise from others. The current conditions were far better compared to when they were at the desolate valley. So when Yang Chen called for them, they both immediately left together with him. Flying to the Qingqiong mountain would take a long time. Within the flying shuttle, Yang Chen remembered how he had enjoyed his time with Zhanxian and also made some fresh tea for his master and senior apprentice sister. After adding water properly, he placed the tea in front of his master, senior apprentice sister and the two eccentric hall seniors and waited for their assessment. Bao Yu, who was enjoying the filial respects from her disciple, had no qualms about the tea being served. Gongsun Ling was also the senior apprentice sister, so it was also justifiable that she would only sit and relax. Even Shikui and Xie were higher in seniority compared to Yang Chen, so Yang Chen was the only one who had to do all the work. After calmly sampling the fine tea, Gao Yu slightly nodded her head to express her praise. Gongsun Ling also took little gulps in a dignified manner and didn't say anything for a long time, but the intoxicated expression in her eyes betrayed her otherwise expressionless face. As for Shikui and Xie, they were just recklessly destroying this beautiful tea, dampening the atmosphere by drinking one whole cup in one gulp and continued to cry that it was insufficient, which annoyed Yang Chen so much that he just wanted to kick both of them once. I have long heard about the Green Jade Immortal Island's Fairy Shy's good tea, Yang Chen. Did you learn this skill from Fairy Shy? After enjoying the tea for a good while, Gao Yu asked him beaming with smiles. Hearing this single sentence gave Yang Chen another headache and he didn't know how to reply. Previously, he had never had the habit of making tea, he was just trying to imitate the enjoyment when he had done this last time with Zhanxian on the flying shuttle, but hadn't anticipated that his master would start mocking him. Gongsun Ling also stopped drinking the tea and looked at Yang Chen with a thoughtful expression, as if waiting for him to reply. Not really, but I was reminded of this because of her. Yang Chen neither confirmed nor completely refused to answer. However, disciple had learned this technique long ago, so the credit doesn't go to her. After he said this, Yang Chen also felt somewhat strange. How could he remember the things he had done with Zhanxian so easily? Although juniors offering tea to their seniors isn't anything strange, but Yang Chen certainly wouldn't have done so earlier. Although he felt strange, it didn't obstruct them from enjoying this pastime with nothing on hand. Yang Chen's technique was exceptionally good. Moreover, the water he had used this time was also far better, as well as the maturity of tea leaves had been increased by 200 years after being passed through the medicine garden, so the tea was more fragrant and stronger compared to when he had made it together with Zhanxian. Although Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling never had the habit of drinking tea previously, but that didn't stop them from relishing it now. Shikui and Xie were acting completely like servants, regardless of how high their cultivation was. They didn't care about anything and were only interested in following Yang Chen to kill and burn. On the whole journey, only his master and senior apprentice sister conversed with him. So where are you taking us? Seeing that they had reached ocean after Yang Chen had piloted the flying shuttle for 2 months and the flying shuttle had transformed into a huge ship floating on the ocean, Gao Yu couldn't help but ask. You will know when we reach there. Yang Chen still didn't reveal anything, fearing that it would ruin the surprise. To reach Qingqiong mountain, they must cross the ocean, but seeing that his master was enjoying the scenery along the way, Yang Chen wished that the journey would last longer. Is it some place you have read about in some book? Bao Yu again guessed. Yes. Yang Chen hastily nodded his head. Only now, he clearly realized how effective his image of a scholar and avid reader had become. Any unnatural matter could be pushed under with this excuse. In any case, others were incapable of verifying, and Yang Chen himself wouldn't also tell them which book it was. In fact, even if they tried to verify, it would take long time to properly confirm things. Okay. Bao Yu didn't press him anymore and steered the subject to another direction. Yang Chen, how are you thinking of dealing with the green jade immortal islands very shy and the clear sky sec sun Kingsu? Disciple himself doesn't know. Hearing this question, a bitter smile appeared on Yang Chen's face and he sighed deeply. Actually, he also didn't know how to deal with it. Alice Master has said to not discriminate among them and had asked Disciple to go out with Sun Kingsu on a trip to gain experience. Disciple was just fretting over this. What's there to worry about? When Gao Yu saw Yang Chen's face, her mood suddenly became cheerful for some reason, compared to her earlier depressed mood when she had mentioned this matter. She continued in a joking voice. In any case, whether it is Fairy Shy or Sun Kingsu, both are good talented geniuses. They are both immortal level figures, so why are you unhappy that they want to become your Tao companion? Seeing the ineffable smile on his master's face, Yang Chen didn't have the heart to change the topic and could only raise his hand lazily in response to his master's joke. Actually, you don't have to worry about it so much. Bao Yu didn't stop there and her next words completely stunned Yang Chen. Great men usually have 3 or 4 concubines. There is also your senior apprentice sister Gongsun within the sect, although she cannot compare to the 2 fairies, but you should accept them all, either way you have more than one type of spirit power, don't you? Once she said these words, not only Yang Chen was completely shocked, even Gongsun Ling was also frightened by Gao Yu's words. Her face flushed because of embarrassment and her thoughts were completely mixed up. She was even confused with where she had placed her hands. After Gao Yu said this sentence, her heart suddenly felt relaxed. Yang Chen was her disciple. Anything happening between them was seemingly impossible. But since he was her disciple, Gao Yu as his master, must think about these things. Naturally the better wife Yang Chen got, the happier she would be. Once she thought of this, although she felt some indescribable sadness, but another part of her heart also felt glad. He was her disciple so it was natural that she would wholeheartedly think and care about him. Since Yang Chen didn't know what to do, it seems his master would have to make the decision. What? Yang Chen was at a loss of words and could only say these 2 words foolishly. Then his gaze moved from Gao Yu to Gongsun Ling, who was sitting on the other side feeling extremely embarrassed and hadn't said anything. What? You don't like your senior apprentice sister? Gao Yu seemed intent on discussing this topic and directly pulled Gongsun Ling towards her. Is your senior apprentice sister lacking in any way compared to those 2? Have you looked properly? In terms of appearance, Linger can be considered as one of the best. In terms of talent, Linger has full earth spirit root. In terms of cultivation, she is almost at the same level as you. A match made in heaven. When she had been discussing the matter of Yang Chen's Tao companion with Gongsun Ling, she had replied somewhat unnaturally. Gao Yu had seen through it long ago, but hadn't got the chance to talk about it. Gao Yu herself was having contradictory views, so how couldn't she understand what Gongsun Ling was thinking? Gongsun Ling was hindered by her status as senior apprentice sister and couldn't take the initiative, so Gao Yu had substituted her and proposed this. In any case, she was just concerned about her disciple, so naturally the more he got the better, the more suitable they were the happier she would be. Moreover Gongsun Ling was also an acquaintance, so when the time came, she would take good care of Yang Chen. Hearing Gao Yu suggest her so openly, Gongsun Ling bashfully lowered her head, but for some reason she felt loosened. The words hidden deep within her heart were being spoken by Gao Yu. Although she wasn't personally raising the issue but the load on her mind had been removed. Right now, Gongsun Ling was feeling nervous thinking about what Yang Chen's answer would be. Whether he would think she was shameless and was using other people to suggest her. However she also didn't know what to say in this situation. Her tender body had already started to slightly tremble. Yang Chen hadn't anticipated that his master would surprisingly think that this was the way to show concern for him. This situation was completely different from what he had thought. In his heart, the person he loved most was his own master. He had thought only about her for more than 10,000 years in his previous life. With great difficulty, he had been able to see her again and enter her tutelage and again experience all those beautiful moments. How could his master suddenly try to find other people for him? No. I don't dislike senior apprentice sister. Yang Chen was upset, but he knew that this was not the time to break the heart of Gongsun Ling. If he said that he didn't like her then it would certainly hurt her. However, this situation was completely different from what Yang Chen wanted, but how can he speak his mind? Hearing Yang Chen's words, Gongsun Ling's shivering tender body suddenly became tranquil. All of a sudden, warm currents began to flow through her heart, making Gongsun Ling's whole body from top to bottom feel relaxed. During the few breaths of time when she was waiting for Yang Chen's answer, Gongsun Ling felt as if she was going all out and fighting with some, and felt her body weakening, as if her strength was being pulled out by someone. Once these words came out of Yang Chen's mouth, Gongsun Ling was almost unable to support herself and felt weak in her knees. Fortunately, she was already sitting and hadn't lost her self-control completely. After arranging her thoughts as the master, Gao Yu suddenly discovered that she could easily see what Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling were thinking. Because of their previous contact, Gongsun Ling had favorable impression towards Yang Chen, but didn't dare to say anything. As for Gao Yu herself, deep within her heart, she also hated to push Yang Chen towards other people. However, she was Yang Chen's master, so how could their relationship be possible? How could they not consider the bond between master and disciple? Gao Yu still hadn't come to accept such situation. Since this is the case, then I as your master will make the decision. What else were you worried about? Gao Yu completely assumed Yang Chen's master's attitude and said to him with a straight face. Too sudden, all of this was too sudden. Yang Chen was completely shocked by Gao Yu's words and seemed to have gone completely silly. Following the order of seniority between master and disciple, Yang Chen must listen to Gao Yu's instruction. This was to display his respect towards his master. But if he followed his feelings, then whatever the case may be, he could never accept such arrangements made by Gao Yu. He hadn't been reborn after spending over 10,000 years previously and entered the tutelage of his master again, just to see his master arrange another Tao companion for himself. Master? Yang Chen suddenly smiled and said. Do you think that the Clear Sky sect and the Green Jade Immortal Islands would agree to their heavenly talents, jointly becoming the Tao companion of the disciple? Since he couldn't accept master's arrangements, Yang Chen must find a justifiable reason to refuse them. Moreover, this reason should be something significant. The Green Jade Immortal Islands and the Clear Sky sect were both outstanding big sects. Permitting their heavenly geniuses to become Yang Chen's Tao companions was already their limit. If he simultaneously dual cultivated with the disciples of both sects, then that wouldn't be forming relationship between the sect, rather it would be provocation. Yang Chen thought of this reason, Gao Yu also started to think about it and couldn't help but feel discouraged. However, when she saw the slightly depressed Gongsun Ling, she gritted her teeth. Since you can accept them both simultaneously, then just become the Tao companion with your senior apprentice sister. It will also free you from worrying about them. Once these words came out of her mouth, Gongsun Ling felt even more ashamed and lowered her head. Both her hands were fiddling with the small teacups, as if trying to wring out water from them. There was nothing she could dare to say, so she just remained seated at her place. That would require the palace master's approval. Yang Chen forced a smile. The sudden transformation in Gao Yu's attitude had completely confused him. You're correct. After some thinking, Gao Yu could only abandon this topic grudgingly. Then you tell us. This training location we going towards, what kind of things will we encounter there? Although Yang Chen had maintained complete secrecy on this topic, but at this moment, he didn't care about leaking out a few things. Perhaps there won't be anything too special. If our luck is good, we might find a pile of 1,000-year-old herbs, magic weapons left by seniors, or perhaps some lost cultivation method, spirit veins contained abundant spirit power, and things like that. If our luck is good. This topic wasn't so embarrassing for Gongsun Ling. Hearing the clues mentioned by Yang Chen, she immediately rhetorically asked. Then what if our luck isn't good? If our luck isn't good then? Yang Chen turned his head to look toward Shikui and Xia, who were equivalently excited, and suddenly replied with a smile. Then we may find some fierce demon beasts as well as formidable puppets. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 228 Finding a Good Location. Pingqiang Mountain was located on a gigantic island, but there weren't many green hills or clear waters there. Neither were there many types of trees also. It was very difficult to believe that this place surprisingly held a heavenly great cave. Yang Chen landed his flying shuttle, and everyone stepped on the island looking at each other in dismay. Although watching the majestic ocean surging with great waves every day had broadened their horizons, stepping on the land again after one whole month was much more delightful. However, their excitement soon turned to confusion. Here? There are demon beasts here. Shikui didn't believe that there could be demon beasts here. He even flew around the whole island once and asked Yang Chen with surprise. Although there were a few high peaks on the island, there were only few coconut trees growing near the ocean. He even couldn't find any source of water present there. As far as he could see, the entire place was filled with mountain rocks. Let alone demon beasts, any living organism would only be seen after great difficulty. That is if you don't consider the coconut trees growing near the ocean as living organisms. I believe you should not always trust books mindlessly. Bao Yu had rarely seen Yang Chen getting conned. Feeling happy, she assumed the attitude of an earnest master and guided Yang Chen. However, her face looked so beautiful that even if she was talking to a board, then it also would have made Yang Chen feel envious. When he saw Gao Yu, he became dazed while suddenly looking at her beautiful appearance and unable to say anything. Junior apprentice brother. Gongsun Ling helplessly called him, trying to wake him from that kind of infatuated state. She couldn't help but feel somewhat bitter. Almost anyone could see that Yang Chen's heart was on his master, but no one said anything. Moreover, Gao Yu had made her resolve that since she is Yang Chen's master, she would always think about him from a master's standpoint. Could the demon beasts be in the ocean? Shikui, standing at the coast, gazed at the ocean, wrinkling his brows. There were countless demon beasts swimming in the ocean. Everyone knew this fact. But he and Xie were Earth-attributed demon beasts. Although among the 5 phases Earth subdued water, but going into the ocean wasn't too convenient for them. If everyone knew about the treasures here, then wouldn't the people have already taken it away? Yang Chen didn't say anything towards his master, but he said this to Shikui and Xie. Do you want to make a bet? What kind of bet? Shikui and Xie weren't afraid of making any bets with Yang Chen. In fact, neither of them cared much about the outcome. Cultivators and demon beasts reasoning on different matters is sometimes greatly different. Bet all the earnings you get inside. Yang Chen joked, but then he sensed it was not proper and supplemented. Half of your earnings, I mean. Okay. Shikui and Xie were completely unaffected. In any case, any treasure obtained would be because Yang Chen gave them the chance, so giving half their harvests to Yang Chen wasn't impossible. When Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling saw Yang Chen being cheeky in front of 2 Yuning stage experts, they also didn't try to stop him. They knew that Shikui and Xie didn't care much about such things. Follow me then. Yang Chen immediately took the lead and flew on his flying sword towards the highest peak among all the other mountains. The others also weren't willing to fall behind and followed him. All the peaks assembled on this island formed the Qingqiong Mountain. The sect which initially resided on the Qingqiong Mountain had fallen 10,000 years ago, so the fact that no one knew about it was completely normal. After flying along the surrounding of the peak once, Yang Chen confirmed the position and drove his flying sword to reach halfway to the mountain, continuing to hover there. Everyone was at loss while looking at Yang Chen's action, but no one said anything and calmly waited. Everyone could clearly see a series of flickering formation symbols radiating from Yang Chen's hands, flashing and dying out without entering that almost vertical precipice. Different symbols contained different spirit power and spell formations, and flickered continuously. When Yang Chen stopped, everyone looked at the precipice opposite to them as if they had woken from a dream. Above the rock half hanging in the air, a transparent and barely visible door appeared. Even though they were cultivators, they could barely make out the door even at such close distance. You all go in first, after I go in, the door will close and vanish, which could only be opened from inside. Yang Chen instructed them. After going inside, remain cautious and don't run around everywhere for the time being, everyone stay together at the same place. The sudden appearance of the door caused everyone to become cautious. When Yang Chen earnestly warned them, all of them understood that it was dangerous inside. Immediately, everyone prepared their defensive magic weapons and flying swords first, only then nodded to Yang Chen, implying that they were ready to go in. Shikui and Xie lead the way, they were Yuning stage experts, so if they encountered something dangerous, they will be able to resist it for some time. They were followed by Gao Yu, who had unleashed her fire-attributed spirit power, restoring her cultivation base back to Jidan stage. The last one was Gongsun Ling, followed by Yang Chen. The door seemed to have a crisscross spell formation on it. After entering, they found a long twisted tunnel. Everyone followed Yang Chen's instructions and didn't run around carelessly, only checked their surroundings. In terms of spiritual awareness, Yang Chen could be said to be the most formidable one among them. Furthermore, after releasing the spiritual awareness threads, the extent of his probe was even larger than Shikui and Xie. Only after carefully investigating once, Yang Chen felt at ease. A small fire was lighted using a very small fire-attributed spell formation. This fire only had the size of torch and could sustain on a low-grade spirit stone for a long time. This was refined by Gongsun Ling herself for use at the Immortal Falling Well, now was the perfect chance to use it again. Everyone felt much more comfortable after the flame was ignited. Yang Chen indicated that there isn't any danger here, but everyone still remained on their guard and slowly moved forward in the tunnel. Especially Shikui and Xie, who were holding their snake-tooth dagger and scorpion tail thorn respectively, and moved forward as if they were facing a huge enemy. The tunnel was very clean without the slightest speck of dust even after so many years. Seemingly it was because of the spell formation for eliminating dust. This seemed the most plausible explanation, since even the spell formation for special entrance had lasted so many years, then what to speak of a minor spell. This region was supposed to be rich in spirit power, so this was normal. However, speaking of spirit power being abundant, Yang Chen was somewhat confused. This tunnel seemed to be completely ordinary, without the slightest sensation that it was rich in spirit power. This matter made him extremely suspicious. This ancient tunnel was completely composed of bricks which were engraved with some symbols unknown to everyone. Surprisingly, usage of spiritual awareness was also cut off within the tunnel, so moving in this 10,000 years old, even if it was Yang Chen, he also had to be cautious. Others following behind him kept slowly moving, but no one had as many thoughts as Yang Chen. All of them were extremely vigilant to defend against any possible danger they may encounter. Yang Chen had told them that if their luck wasn't good, they may encounter countless demon beasts and puppets. This thought weighed heavily on everyone's mind. Suddenly light appeared in front of them, seeing it, Yang Chen hinted for Gongsun to extinguish the fire. Everyone walked a few more steps and could immediately see a huge and illuminated hall. The appearance of the hall shocked everyone. The size of this hall was far larger compared to Puryang Palace's main hall. It had sufficient to hold more than 1,000 disciples with enough to spare. The hall was completely empty, apart from the single decorated door from which they entered, there weren't anything else. The enormous hall didn't even have a single pillars, which made it seem even more empty. At the top of the hall, several hundred flickering pearls could be seen which illuminated the hall, making it feel as if it was daytime. On the other side of the hall, there were 5 glittering door-like things. There was nothing in other places, except from the jade tiles neatly spread on the floor, the hall was completely empty. That should be the exit. Yang Chen had rough knowledge of some things, he said pointing towards the door. No one else had any other idea and followed behind Yang Chen to arrive in front of those doors arranged in a row. Soon after, Gao Yu turned her head and asked Yang Chen. Which door should we pick? Without waiting for Yang Chen's reply, Shikui had already opened the door on the rightmost side. Seeing this, Yang Chen was alarmed, but before he could stop Shikui, a white light suddenly flickered and then Shikui's body was thrown towards the other side of the hall by some kind of huge pressure. While everyone hastily rushed toward Shikui to support him, Shikui slowly stood up. When he saw Yang Chen examining his body with a confused gaze, he hastily yelled. There's no problem. There's no problem. The force which can casually throw away a Yuning expert like Shikui towards the other end of the room, when the others thought about the source, they were extremely terrified. Shikui was only thrown towards the other end, but hadn't suffered any internal injuries and soon stood up on his feet. After making some random movements, he seemed to be completely fine. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Yang Chen, waiting for his response. Yang Chen bitterly smiled while inspecting Shikui, but didn't say anything and only shook his head. Those 5 doors should be arranged according to cultivation realm difference. Yang Chen didn't continue the suspense and began to explain. People with different cultivations can enter different doors. The rightmost one should be for daching experts. Everyone seemed to have suddenly understood. According to this hypothesis, the doors should be divided between Kai Layer, Foundation Stage, Jidan, Yuaning and Daching Stage. Experts can enter any door for cultivators lower than their cultivation, but they definitely cannot enter the doors for higher level cultivators. Even if some kind of spatial item like medicine garden was used, it was still impossible. This time, Shikui didn't dare to move around randomly, just opening a wrong door had made him clearly realize that he wasn't anything formidable here. No one had come here before them, therefore everyone had unanimously agreed to check out the Kai Layer door first. In case some mishap occurs, they should be able to handle it with their cultivation levels. Yang Chen pushed his hand inside the leftmost door and didn't sense any repulsion, as if outside was completely empty. Yang Chen pulled his hand back and signaled Shikui and Xieshi that everything was okay. Seeing this, both of them immediately took out their destined magic weapons and went inside, followed by Yang Chen, Gao Yu and Gongsun respectively. The scenery suddenly changed. The region where everyone found themselves had huge fields, mountains, rivers, grasslands, forests and everything else that could be found. Everyone was gobsmacked seeing this. It was really deserving to be called a heavenly grade magic weapon, even the Kai Layer region was surprisingly this large. Yang Chen flew within the sky and looked everything, roughly estimating it to have a perimeter of 1,000 miles. The place where they had appeared was the exit of a huge palace. Below them was a group of grand palaces situated on the mountain. These grand palaces filled the entire peak of the mountain. What surprised everyone was the quietness here, without the slightest sound. The quiet among the large number of grand palaces seemed quite eerie to them. Let's see if it's worth something which should be collected. Suddenly Yang Chen excitedly said. I told you that I will lead you to riches, let's see how good your luck is. Everyone again looked at Yang Chen with amazement, but seeing the serious look on his face, all of them were excited and began to disperse. Wait. Yang Chen suddenly stopped everyone. This is the region for Kai Layer disciples. If you encounter demon beasts and puppets, then don't kill the ones whom you can allow to live, they will be good for training of disciples in the future. Everyone agreed. Yang Chen again supplemented like an old man. Treasures are also the same, don't be greedy for things which you don't need, leave some things for the future generation. We will again find treasures in high-level areas. Yes we know. Troublesome. Bao Yu smiled towards Yang Chen while impatiently saying this. Then she urged her flying sword and began to tour around the group of palaces. Yang Chen also began to scroll around with curiosity in the surroundings of the nearest palaces. After taking a round around the group of nearest palaces, he discovered that it was basically a fully functioning sect's encampment. All types of palace halls, all types of dwellings for disciples and other such things were built in complete detail. The only strange thing was that although there was no one inside them, but there still wasn't any speck of dust inside. Soon, Yang Chen discovered an extremely concealed aureole outside the group of palaces. He had almost skipped over it while sweeping the surroundings with his spiritual awareness and was only able to find it because the formidable spiritual awareness threads formed by 3 purity secrets. After examining for a moment, Yang Chen finally became certain that this wasn't just a simple aureole, rather a boundary. After coming out of this aureole, he could sense the presence of demon beasts, but after coming inside, the presence immediately vanished. In other words, the area inside this aureole must be safe zone. After discovering this, Yang Chen was completely dumbfounded. How was this a simple sect encampment? It was clearly a sect's encampment and locations for training together. This was basically the most suitable location for a sect, a perfect location for a dojo. After entering here, he could clearly sense the abundant spirit power, which made him feel a little like when he had entered the second Fierce Yang courtyard. Although it was as rich as second Fierce Yang courtyard, but this was a region for Kai layer disciples, who knows what kind of surprises were waiting for him at the foundation stage, Zhedan and Yuning stage locations. Yang Chen, quickly come. Zhanxian Ling's voice suddenly echoed from far away, because the region was too quiet, her voice had transmitted from a long distance. Yang Chen was startled and hastily flew towards her. While flying towards her, he saw Zhanxian Ling standing in front of an enormous palace hall. There was a large board hanging in front of the palace hall. On the board, 3 words were written in ancient language: concealed scripture hall. Seeing that Zhanxian Ling wasn't in trouble, Yang Chen slightly calmed down and advanced towards the concealed scripture hall. Although there was nothing special about it on the outside, but when Yang Chen entered the concealed scripture hall, he was stunned. Countless enormous bookshelves on whom numerous jade slips were neatly arranged. This concealed scripture hall is surprisingly not empty. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 229 Unexpected Surprise. Zhanxian Ling's yell attracted everyone to rush over here. When they saw this scene, mix of surprise and alarm could be seen on their face. Everyone was clear, regardless of whatever kind of medicinal ingredients or magic weapons they find, none of that could be compared to a sect's inheritance. And these densely packed jade slips was precisely that inheritance. What are you all looking at? Collect them quickly. Looking at everyone rooted to the spot, Yang Chen hastily reminded them what should they do. God knows what danger will we face, first collect these, then we will see what to do. Everyone seemed to have woken up from a dream, and under Yang Chen's reminder, all of them scattered in different directions and began to collect the jade slips one after other within their Qiankan pouches. There was no time to look at these, everyone was focused on collecting the jade slips first, then if they got the opportunity, they can take a look. After rushing for 1 hour, all these were collected. After completing everything, everyone looked at each others with a smile on their faces. Other layers must also have some. Bao Yu suddenly realized and yelled with surprise, reminding everyone. Without saying anything, they directly made a beeline for the entrance gate of Main and returned back to the original hall. Yang Chen said to Shikui and Xia. You both, one go to Yuning stage region, one go to Zhedan stage region. First collect all the things in the concealed scripture halls before anything else. Apart from Yang Chen, no one else knew the dangers of this dwelling. Hearing Yang Chen's words, Shikui and Xia went through the 3rd and 4th door. Yang Chen however pointed to the 2nd door and said. Master, senior apprentice sister, we will go through this one. Saying this, he stepped through the door. The scenery again transformed, everything was different from the earlier place, but the main structure was mostly identical. The 3 of them quickly found the location of concealed scripture hall. It didn't betray their expectations, foundation stage region's concealed scripture hall was also similarly filled with jade slips. No one was courteous this time, first they were focused on collecting these treasures, then move about on other things. After a wave of looting, the foundation stage region's concealed scripture hall was raked clean by the 3 of them. After they returned back to the hall, Shikui and Xia still hadn't come back. After all, they were collecting by themselves so they wouldn't be quick like Yang Chen, who had 2 more people to help him and required more time. After approximately 2 more hours, Shikui and Xia finally returned back to the hall. However, their expressions weren't so good. What happened? Some problem inside? Yang Chen hastily asked. We discovered Zhedan stage demon beast under a mountain. Shikui had entered the Zhedan stage region, he continued. However, they hadn't advanced inside. Yuning stage region was also the same, only the enemy there was more powerful puppets. Xu Sha had also discovered a formidable opponent. In the beginning, I thought they were going to attack, but later discovered that they cannot come near. Only then could I feel relieved and collected the jade slips. Yang Chen had known about this earlier, but it allowed others to discover something interesting. Now, everyone could understand the main use of this dwelling. So what do we do with all this? Bao Yu was completely at a loss while staring at the 4 Qianqin pouches filled with jade slips, in a daze. While they were collecting it, she hadn't felt it to be too much, but when the time for putting these to some use came, she realized there were indeed too many jade slips. Even a second-rate sect like Puryang Palace had more than 1,000,000 jade slips in the sect's concealed scripture pavilion, which recorded all types of things about cultivation methods, pill concocting, tool refining, spell formations, all types of cultivation knowledge, as well as all sorts of scattered information. This dojo was sufficiently 2 to 3 times the size of Puryang Palace, the jade slips collected by everyone numbered in several millions. The question of what to do with all these things had put everyone at loss. For you. Shikui and Xiesha were straightforward and directly threw their Qianqin pouches to Yang Chen. They were demon beasts, so these cultivation methods and others things of humanity weren't of any use to them. It would be better to give them to Yang Chen as his portion, because if there was something among these which they required, Yang Chen wouldn't be stingy. Yang Chen had made this fact clear over the time, so both of them didn't have any worries about it. Seeing Shikui and Xiesha's action, Gao Yu and Gongsunling looked at each other and smiled suddenly, as if they had formed a mutually agreeable decision. They also tossed their Qianqin pouches to Yang Chen. Yang Chen, this is for your toil, if there is something among these which you think we need, then give it to us. Everyone had a multitudes of thought running through their mind regarding this enormous dojo. It was completely impossible for their group to seize it for themselves, however if they just hand it over to sect, that also won't be a justifiable way to deal with it. Yang Chen had already led the sect to capture the 100,000 mountains very recently, if he again delivers this formidable dojo to the sect within such short time, then it will surely cause many people to raise their brows. By now, Yang Chen had done many astonishing things successively, if one more world-shaking matter comes from him, then probably even the people within the sect would be unable to stand by idly. One person getting in limelight all the time by himself isn't really a good thing. Therefore, for a long time in the future, this place will remain their private dojo. Who discovers it, gets it. This is an accepted argument within the sect. All these jade slips and other inheritance type of things clearly belong to them only. However, since Yang Chen had led them here combined with the fact that he is also fond of reading different things, all these things should be best handed over to Yang Chen. Yang Chen had led them all here, so he trusted them enough to believe that if they found something suitable for him, they wouldn't secretly hide it, otherwise he wouldn't have informed them about here. All of them were clearly aware of this fact. After giving Yang Chen the jade slips, everyone sat down at the original hall and began to discuss their next action. After discovering that the demon beasts and puppets cannot enter a circular boundary, all of them clearly realized the situation here. This was simply the most suitable place to cultivate through battling, such a chance doesn't come by easily, they shouldn't waste it so easily. Probably everyone has discovered that this is a suitable location for your cultivation. Yang Chen suggested a solution for them. Why not cultivate here once? This proposal obtained everyone's consent. The existence of the safe zone was enough to ensure everyone's survival during training. Shikui and Xiesha didn't have any hesitations and directly returned to the Yuning stage experts battling region. Gongsunling also stood up while looking at Yang Chen and Gao Yu. After bidding them farewell, she also entered the foundation stage battling region, leaving behind only Yang Chen and Gao Yu within the main hall. Yang Chen, when are you planning to hand over this location to the sect? Gao Yu thought about it, but felt that it was better to ask the question directly, therefore asked a question which she had been in her mind for a long time. When Master enters the upper echelons of Puryang Palace, or maybe when our Puryang Palace faces some calamity which could exterminate the sect. Yang Chen laughed while informing her about his original plans. Upper echelons. Gao Yu shook her head. It is still too early to think about those imaginary matters. Yang Chen, what do you think, which path should be for Master to test myself? Foundation stage. Yang Chen said without any hesitation. Ilaya region isn't useful, but gaining battle experience starting from low-level battles is better, increasing your level step by step will make your foundation robust. Additionally, sometimes Master should try to deliberately not kill those demon beasts and instead capture them alive. That would be even harder. Good, then I will go to the foundation stage region. Gao Yu agreed without any resistance and again asked. What about you? In Gao Yu's view, Yang Chen apparently had never gone through any kind of battle experience. Moreover, he seemed to always understanding everything. Sometimes Gao Yu was unable to determine Yang Chen's present level. Disciple will also go to the foundation stage region. Yang Chen smiled. However, forget about fighting, disciple will stay on one side and take a look at those jade slips. As if she had guessed what Yang Chen was thinking, Gao Yu didn't seem to be surprised. Nodding her head, she said to Yang Chen. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Yang Chen stood up and followed after Gao Yu to enter the foundation stage region. Gongsun Ling's figure had already disappeared from their view. She must have already gone outside the boundary. Gao Yu also chose some random direction and urged her flying sword towards it without saying anything. As for Yang Chen, he casually walked to one corner which was rich in spirit power and laid down his black obsidian mat and sat on it. After making the preparations, he opened a Qianqin pouch and began to go through those jade slips one by one. The jade slips were sorted properly according to different realms as well as different attributes. But those on some specific content were still mixed, so Yang Chen had to carefully read them one by one. The dust-filled bookshelves were an identical mark of those sects who had disappeared from the cultivation world. Of all the jade slips, few hadn't been categorized. It was naturally impossible for Yang Chen to read the several million jade slips in a short time. Thus, Yang Chen gave priority to examine the cultivation methods described on them first and see whether any of those methods caught his eye. The things from 10,000 years ago had many differences compared to the present. However, while checking for cultivation method, at the same time Yang Chen also took a rough glance at the contents of all the jade slips, differentiating and categorizing them according to cultivation methods, spell formations, pill concocting, tool refining, cultivation insights and other random things. His search naturally began from looking through foundation stage cultivation methods, but after going through several hundred cultivation methods, Yang Chen discovered that the cultivation world had indeed moved forward continuously. The cultivation methods from 10,000 years ago already lagged behind, and even the concept could be said to be conflicting with the cultivation methods of modern world. At least within these past 10,000 years, cultivation methods had gone through great transformations involving opening more meridians, having even more potential, as well as increasing the rate of spirit power absorption. The changes had been so enormous that cultivation methods of the past era and the current era couldn't be mentioned on the same terms. Many rapid transformations had been happening within the world continuously. It was basically impossible for anyone who had found cultivation methods of ancient sects by fluke to start their own sect. Because of the countless ages of research and improvement by countless experts within the last 10,000 years, the present level of cultivation methods was at least 2 grades higher compared to before. So far, every big sect would have specialized halls of experts to research the cultivation methods. Often, the big sects would sell their outdated cultivation methods to small sects and rogue cultivators. When these cultivation methods will similarly spread to other big sects who would also have research specialists who would extract what they needed and remove the unnecessary parts, absorbing others' experiences to enrich their own sect's cultivation methods. This was also the reason why Yang Chen didn't care much about choosing a cultivation method at a lower grade. After passing through this research and exchange, actually the speed of different cultivation methods was nearly the same, only the cultivation speeds were different. But high-level cultivation methods weren't the same. After reaching the wielding stage, the further cultivation included not only absorbing spirit power every day, but a majority of it also relied on mental assurance, as well as gaining an understanding of the natural order, rather than just cultivating laboriously at early stages. This is also the reason why after reaching the wielding stage, the people who had mediocre talent quickly fell behind compared to geniuses. The original difference of only several hundred years became as large as the difference between heaven and earth after reaching the wielding stage. Yang Chen was only looking at these methods for consultation and didn't care much about gaining other things from them. While he was immersed in this process, time continued to pass. Yang Chen even didn't feel that a long time had passed, but Gao Yu informed him that 1 year had already passed. During this 1 year, others also didn't bother Yang Chen much and were busy with their own cultivation. It has to be said that the growth acquired during battle is the quickest. When they encountered some demon beast which they couldn't beat, then that sensation of doing their utmost to return back to the safe zone, to return back alive, was precisely the best strategy for growth in cultivation. Within this 1 year, Gongsun Ling's temperament had undergone a huge changes. She didn't seem that same sort of naive like before. Instead, her body radiated a hidden killing intent which ensured that she wasn't someone to be easily trifled with. Before, mostly the disciples of Pure Yang Palace pursued a full faith in the principle of not only to contend, but to become invincible. This principle gave the feeling that the only way to increase cultivation was fair and honest. But, most disciples easily interpreted this as standing aloof over worldly matter, although their mental state ascended quickly, but when facing genuine tribulation, they seemed to lack a sort of ruthlessness and determination. Many Pure Yang disciples had died because of this reason, including the previous life's Gongsun Ling. Presently, Gongsun Ling didn't face this ending anymore. This was an extremely gratifying transformation. In fact, from the time the upper echelons began to conspire to capture the 100,000 mountains, this thought had began to slowly transform to the most widely spread thoughts of competing to win. If Yang Chen didn't stop reading continuously, Gongsun Ling and Gao Yu would not come over and bother him. But just when Yang Chen withdrew himself from the books, both women appeared within the first moments after discovering this. Yang Chen didn't continue anymore because he had found something which made him extremely excited. Within the several million jade slips, Yang Chen unexpectedly discovered the 9th water secrets of the Great Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets. This was mixed up with Yuanying stage cultivation methods and had been reviewed by people as extremely difficult to cultivate. Probably it was because people at that time didn't know that these 9th water true secrets could only be cultivated with 9th water true Kai. The most unexpected thing was that despite it being a 9th water true secrets from 10,000 years ago, this cultivation method among the Great Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets hadn't experienced any changes those 10,000 years. This was the most original cultivation method, there almost wasn't any margin of improvement in it for a long time. After obtaining the 9th water true secrets, Yang Chen had already obtained 8 types of cultivation methods of the Great Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets, only 2 remained which he hadn't found yet. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 230 Discovering Treasures Continuously. Yang Chen had never expected that this legendary abode on Qingqiang Mountain would bring such a pleasant surprise for him. This was completely beyond his expectations. Apparently, he need to make a trip to all the regions left behind by the immortals in the mortal world, maybe they would have similar surprises waiting for him. In his previous life, when Yang Chen was in the mortal world, he never had the chance to access such high-grade objects. At most, he would hear the information that some precious treasure had appeared for which countless X would contest with each other. Among them were also some place where Yin and Yang 5 phases true Kai would be found, like the 5th Earth true Kai of the Desolate Valley. Among the Great Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets, presently he still lacked 2 methods. One was the 3rd Fire true secrets and other was the 6th Earth true secrets, but now his hopes of obtaining them were raised again. Although he had an idea about the location of those 2 methods, but Yang Chen was fully convinced that finding those 2 methods absolutely wouldn't be difficult compared to his rebirth. What he must do presently was to increase his strength quickly. His cultivation of foundation stage was really insufficient in front of this grade of cultivation methods. Although Yang Chen had already cultivated the 5th Earth True Secrets and the 7th Metal True Secrets, but that was because of coincidental opportunity, and the main thing was that the places he absorbed a 5th Earth True Kai and 7th Metal True Kai were both safe places. But according to his memories, he knew that the other true kiss of the Yin and Yang 5 phases secrets would all be found in dangerous places where he had no way of reaching with his present strength. Did you find anything good? He could see that although Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling had undergone great changes during the training battles, they didn't conceal their joyous look from Yang Chen. Seeing this, he couldn't help but ask. There wasn't anything good, just some demon beasts. Gongsun Ling replied with a smile. Gao Yu standing near her also nodded her head. Are you so happy because of these demon beasts? Yang Chen didn't believe their words, if there were only demon beasts, then they wouldn't have been acting like this. After pondering for a moment, he immediately guessed something and asked with a smile. Senior apprentice sister, have you discovered some unique spell formation? Nothing can be concealed from you. Gongsun Ling stopped smiling and she started grumbling. And you pretend to not know for once. Guess now what kind of spell formation is it? Yang Chen stared at Gongsun Ling for a good moment, which made her feel extremely uneasy. Only after more than half of her face had turned red did he stop and say with a smile. Actually, the spell formation most worthy of studying is that classification spell formation in the outer hall, and these safety spell formations, other than that, there aren't many things which can catch your attention. Senior apprentice sister, am I right? This time, even Gao Yu was slightly stupefied and suddenly asked. Then tell me what did I find? Master should have discovered some tool refining method, am I right? Yang Chen turned towards her. Or you must have found a fragment of some magic weapon which you can use for consultancy. If I hadn't personally witnessed your cultivation until today, I would really have thought that you are some kind of monster. Bao Yu was astonished and said in a resigned tone looking at Yang Chen. If what I said is correct, then here are some jade slips which both you and senior apprentice sister should read once. Yang Chen took out some jade slips from the pile he was reading through and handed them to the two. Only remember, although creative thinking requires guidance, but you don't need to read much about the refining methods and techniques to lay down spell formations. Yang Chen had specifically left these for them. Naturally he still had even higher grade ones, but they were suitable for both of them for now. Moreover, Yang Chen didn't think that it wasn't worth for master and senior apprentice sister to research and study these ancient things in detail. The main priority here was to absorb that kind of creative thinking and not those techniques. Both of them acted like they were holding their most precious treasures. It had to be said, Yang Chen guess was right at the mark. Gongsun was intrigued by the spell formations in the safe zone, as well as the spell formation which classified them according to cultivation. Not only that spell formation could prevent Yuning stage and higher level demon beasts from coming outside, they also could easily throw away experts like Shikui, barring their entry into the regions not meant for them. This spell formation was an exceptionally good defensive spell formation. As for Gao Yu, she had accidentally encountered some magic weapon fragment and discovered the hints of a strange tool refining method which was completely different from the tool refining techniques used presently. She was a fire-attributed cultivator and was fond of refining weapons, so she became excited instantly after discovering this. However, they didn't waste much time pondering over them and remembered that Yang Chen had a pile of jade slips, so certainly some of them must have information about these things. And as expected, as soon as they mentioned it, Yang Chen directly delivered them what they wanted. Yang Chen's words were clear, these can be used as guides to learn the thought process of their predecessors, but the techniques themselves shouldn't be learned. Both of them also understood that after more than 10,000 years had passed, every type of cultivation methods or techniques had been improvised greatly, so they shouldn't neglect the fundamentals. The most important treasure of this legendary cave were still those training location. They even allowed people to undergo life and death experience. After obtaining the jade slips, both women didn't start reading them immediately, rather put this matter aside for now and went outside again to continue battling. No one asked Yang Chen anything about why wasn't he participating in this training. Both women seemed to have realized that Yang Chen didn't require this. Seeing the disappearing figures of both females, Yang Chen stood up and stretched his body. Looking at the groups of palace halls, he suddenly felt very relaxed. If this life could last for eternity, wouldn't that be beautiful? Unfortunately, this was only a dream, the path of cultivation wasn't so gentle. At most, they could stop caring about worldly matters, but there was still the heavenly tribulations, so Yang Chen couldn't help but relax now. After stretching his body, Yang Chen again sat down and began to continue his search among the pile of several hundred thousands of jade slips. After obtaining the 9th water true secrets previously, Yang Chen was convinced that there was certainly another similar treasure hidden among these countless jade slips, waiting to be discovered by him. Naturally, he didn't forget his cultivation while continuing his search. The 3 purity secrets which were at 3rd layer wasn't stopped and was continuously revolving through his body, allowing Yang Chen to have a clear head and feel energetic. He would stop after going through 100 jade slips every time and cultivate the yin and yang 5 phases secrets and move his spirit energy once through all the meridians. Cultivation wasn't something where he would advance in a single night and receive a flash of enlightenment, regardless of whether it was Yang Chen or Gao Yu or Gongsun or even Shikui and Xie, none of them slacked in their cultivation. Hard work doesn't fail. When Yang Chen had continued to sit for approximately half a year, he finally discovered an absolutely shocking cultivation method within the pile of jade slips which he had never expected to find there. This cultivation method was said to be found unexpectedly because this was the cultivation of some servant of the heavenly court which basically shouldn't appear within the mortal world. It was only for immortals which could only be found among the cultivation methods of heavenly court after entering there. This cultivation method was called Zhanxian Strongman Body Refining Technique. Zhanxian Strongman was a servant at the heavenly court, so this method was prepared mainly for weak servants at the heavenly court. Naturally, the prerequisite of cultivating this cultivation method was that not only one's physical body must be strong, but also its power must also be sufficient. The main condition to cultivate this cultivation method was that one must have at least 18,000 kilograms of power. This wasn't the power generated by rotating their cultivation base, rather strength of only the physical body. Attaining this kind of power by just relying on the physical was almost impossible. Before he began the cultivation of this body refining technique, Zhanxian Strongman still had to cultivate a heap of supplementary cultivation methods and fulfill this condition, only then could he truly begin the cultivation of Zhanxian Strongman body refining technique. In the eyes of others, Zhanxian Strongman seemed to have reached this level of strength by carrying heavy objects from one place to another, but the real reason was this. Zhanxian Strongman had great power but weaker battle prowess, so he could only work like a low-level servant in the heavenly court. But, Zhanxian Strongman didn't continue to live his entire life like this. When his strength reached a certain level, he revealed his terrifying power which didn't seem to lose to spirit power of cultivation methods. For example, within the book Foolish Old Man Moves the Mountain, the two sons of Kuei-ershi had casually carried the Taihang Mountain and Wangwu Mountains and separated them. Body strength to extreme limit is extremely terrifying and comparable to remarkable abilities which could move mountains and drain seas. This was a true fact, otherwise no one would have cultivated this kind of cultivation method. For Yang Chen, this Yuangjin strongman body refining technique was a completely unexpected benefit. The benefits provided to him by the Qingqiong Mountain didn't stop at a perfect training location and ninth water true secrets, now he had also obtained the Yuangjin strongman body refining technique. It was completely impossible within the mortal world that there would be anyone else whose physical strength would reach 18,000 kilograms. But Yang Chen was different, his physical body had nourished by the blood of countless immortals and thus had already reached its peak condition. Furthermore, Yang Chen had tempered his physical body before starting cultivation, so by the time he entered Pure Yang Palace, his body had already been remarkable. At that time, Yang Chen had mowed down Shen Da and others using a metal rod strengthened by Thousand Caddy Talisman. Although the Thousand Caddy Talisman didn't exactly have the power of Thousand Caddies, but after many Thousand Caddy Talismans were used to strengthen the Talisman tool iron rod, then it should have the strength of at least 30,000 caddies or 18,000 kilograms. Even if Shen Da wasn't influenced by the Thousand Caddy Talisman since he was the master of the Talisman tool, but after it was reinforced with several Thousand Caddy Talismans, he basically couldn't stand while holding it. At that time, Yang Chen had barely entered the Kai layer, while now the spirit energy of all his 10 attributes was already at foundation stage, and his body was being nourished by the spirit energy of the world and had become even stronger. Although Yang Chen hadn't tempered only his physical body for a long time, but his body's foundations were still there and would remain there eternally. Yang Chen also hadn't tested whether he did truly have the strength of 30,000 caddies, but since he had found such a formidable method, so wouldn't not cultivating it be a complete loss. Thinking about the time in the future when he would hold his immortal executing blade possessed by Yazi, as well as possess formidable spiritual awareness as well as physical body, who would still dare to resist him? But the physical body which could move mountains and seas, reinforced by the spiritual awareness condensed by the 3 purity secrets, as well as the immortal executing blade bestowed by Yazi, he could cut monsters, armies, anything. At that time, there wouldn't be any living being who would be able to escape in one piece from him. Cultivation method used by low-level servant. Too inferior to show in public. Yang Chen never had such thinking. In his view, there was no difference between the power of nobles or peasants, there was only the power itself. However, the conditions of cultivating the Yuangjin strongman body refining technique were very strict. If his physical body didn't have the power of 30,000 caddies, then his body would simply be incapable of supporting the enormous pressure produced by cultivation of this technique and would crack, causing him to die. With no way out, Yang Chen could only test himself first to confirm whether he truly had the required strength or not. Otherwise, if his body cracked during cultivation and he died, that wouldn't be funny. There was no lack of things for testing here. Yang Chen randomly chose a pile of stone which should surpass the 30,000 caddies energy constraint. He refined these stones to create a stele with a handle. Just to be sure, he added another 1,000 caddies of stone in the mixture and began to test. Since he hadn't relied on his only physical strength for a long time, Yang Chen first used the body refining fist solemnly. After warming up, he crouched down and grabbed the handle of the stele with his both hands and began to lift it. After some slight shaking, the enormous stele slowly left the ground. With Yang Chen using his full strength, he raised it above his head. Bang, the enormous stele which was triple the height of Yang Chen and thick enough that his arms could wrap around, was directly thrown on the ground by Yang Chen. Although it wasn't easy for Yang Chen to produce the strength to lift up 30,000 caddies, but using his full strength, he was able to lift it up. This was sufficient to confirm that Yang Chen's body had already satisfied the basic condition for cultivating the Yuangjin strongman body refining technique, and he could cultivate this cultivation method which increased his physical body's strength and strengthened it. When Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling noticed a difference in Yang Chen, he was already sitting on one side, cultivating this Yuangjin strongman body refining technique. The reason why they found him different was because Yang Chen's body seemed to have suddenly inflated from inside. From time to time, some part of his body would again swell or suddenly shrink. Below his body, there seemed to be a strange monster which was incessantly saluting it with both hands. All of this was extremely strange. Both women were slightly astonished, but no one dared to bother Yang Chen. Yang Chen seemed to be extremely serious, so he certainly must be practicing some strange cultivation method he found here. However, Handy said to them that they must only think creatively using the concept to create the cultivation method, but must not learn the cultivation method itself. Then why is he himself cultivating some cultivation method from here? Yang Chen's body continued to transform continuously. Every part of flesh on his body seemed to strongly thumping and compacting, every muscle on his body had become even more formidable compared to before it was compacted. While cultivating, Yang Chen hadn't discovered that within a short time, his entire body was filled with strong muscles. Every part of flesh on his body had faintly swelled up and covered the whole body. When all of his flesh had stopped transforming, Yang Chen finally completed his first cultivation of Zhanxian strongman body refining technique. As soon as he stopped cultivating, Yang Chen immediately sensed the presence of Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling. What? Yang Chen had spent half a month during the first cultivation of this body refining technique. But Yang Chen didn't think that it was something the two females would be astonished about. However, the expression on the faces of his master and senior apprentice sister didn't resemble their calm expressions, so what was the matter here? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more.